One day, a massive tower descended, bringing a system message: fight or face annihilation. Desperate to survive, countless people answered the call, rushing into the tower under the banner of saving humanity. But the reality inside was brutal. Facing terrifying monsters, the tower walkers had to fight for their lives, turning every floor into a bloody battlefield. Just when hope was fading, an item called the Regression Stone appeared. It offered a tempting escape: return to the past with your memories and start over. Someone tested it and vanished into light. Seeing this, the morale collapsed. Since death seemed inevitable, the temptation to respawn and try again became irresistible for most walkers. Watching their comrades disappear one by one, our boy J1 felt a heavy silence. Now, only his best friend Yun1 remained beside him as the last defenders on this floor. Suddenly, a massive monster launched an ambush. J1 instinctively prepared to fight, but when he called out to Yun1, he found his friend sitting motionless, ignoring the danger. J1 froze as he saw what Yun1 was holding: a regression stone. With a whispered apology, his last remaining pillar of support chose to escape to the past. Staring at the empty battlefield, J1's shock turned into cold resolve. Everyone abandoned the present to fix their past, but he couldn't help but wonder who would save this world they left behind. Facing the temptation to return to the past, our boy refuses without hesitation. Grip tightening on his sword, he declares he's not going back. He's going to keep climbing, even if he has to do it alone. The massive ice monster isn't intimidated by his resolve. Instead, it grins, realizing it might have just stumbled upon a very valuable piece of prey. Flashback to the day it all started. Our boy was living a normal life, just trying to grab some chips at a convenience store when a kid accused him of being a thief. He awkwardly puts the chips down, trying to explain himself. In the background, the news mentions minor earthquakes, unaware that these tremors are counting down to the end of the world. Suddenly, peace is shattered by a massive rumble. Without warning, the building begins to tear apart, sending glass and debris flying everywhere as chaos erupts. A light fixture snaps loose, falling straight toward the terrified kid. Without hesitation, our boy dives in, shielding the child with his own body from the collapsing ceiling. As the dust settles, survivors look outside to see a nightmare. Massive, mysterious towers have appeared in cities across the globe, signaling the end of life as they knew it. It started without warning. People across the globe received a sudden notification. Congratulations, you have been selected to save the world. Before anyone could figure out if it was a prank, the harsh reality set in. Those who accepted were instantly equipped with gear and skills, like characters in a game. But the system's subsequent red alert wiped the smiles off their faces. A tower impact was imminent. This was no drill. At the construction site below, workers were the first to notice something wrong. A horned figure appeared high above, radiating a terrifying aura before anyone could even shout a warning. With a piercing scream from the mysterious demoness, the veil was torn apart. Hideous monsters ripped through the dimensions, bearing their fangs. In that moment, humanity realized exactly what they were up against. Sirens wailed across the sky as the tower impact began. Monsters flooded the cities like a tide, while tanks and artillery roared in a desperate attempt to stem the wave of destruction. But conventional weapons were useless. Giant beasts trampled civilization into dust. In just one wave of attacks, a third of the world's population was wiped out, leaving only ruins behind. In the despair of the rainy night, survivors looked up at the floating system panel again. Despite their fear, they realized they had no choice. Becoming tower walkers was humanity's last resort. With grim determination, people charged into the glowing tower. These armed walkers became humanity's last hope, embarking on a bloody climb to end the apocalypse. Faced with an insurmountable barrier, the team's morale hit rock bottom. No matter how they looked at it, this was a dead end, and despair began to spread. Just as their brute force attempt failed, a strange blue light emerged from the rubble. A regression stone appeared, promising to send users back in time with their memories intact. Leader Khan, seeing this as their only lifeline, decided to test it himself. After promising to try it out, he was instantly engulfed by energy and vanished before their eyes. As the light faded, Khan was gone. Amidst the panic, Sakamoto, the team's intellectual, stepped forward with a grim look, seemingly understanding the logic behind the item. Sakamoto explained that while Khan did go back, he likely created a separate parallel universe. Since the timelines have split, he can never return to save those left behind here. This realization plunged the group into deeper panic. Even if it couldn't save the current world, The stone's promise of a fresh start remained a deadly temptation. Holding a fragment of the stone, Sakamoto admitted it was just a theory. But in this defilogic tower, no one could say for sure if escaping was truly better than dying. Meanwhile, as the survivors inside faced a difficult choice, the outside world was hit by a devastating second impact, with giant monsters mercilessly trampling the earth. Despair descends as the world outside the tower becomes a living hell. Facing an endless tide of monsters, the defense line known as reality is crumbling. With death knocking, the walkers face a binary choice: use the regression stone to flee to the past, or stay in this doomed timeline and die. Watching their comrades get torn apart breaks the survivors. One by one, they clutch their stones and choose to flee, leaving behind only hollow apologies as they abandon this world. Just as the lone straggler is about to become Monster Chow, a sharp blade cuts through the darkness. Our boy rushes onto the battlefield, delivering an instant kill. As the monster falls, our boy casually checks on the survivor. But looking around, the crowded battlefield is now empty. All those so-called comrades have already run away. The survivor tears up with gratitude, then makes the hardest choice of all. He crushes the regression stone in his hand, destroying his only escape route. He's staying. Not everyone chose to run. At the end of despair, humanity's last hope rests in the hands of these madmen, who refused the temptation and chose to defend the present. This memory reeks of despair. Surrounded by lava and ruin on the 98th floor, our boy and his closest comrade are beaten down, wondering where their perfect run fell apart. Facing an overwhelming monster, Yun-Won doesn't hesitate. He screams to draw the aggro, creating a split-second opening for our boy to strike. Blades clash with blinding speed. But amidst the shouting and the chaos, it's not just the monster taking damage. Blood splatters across the battlefield. Not long ago, things were different. They were a perfect team, healing wounds and celebrating victories, genuinely believing they could clear the tower together without losing anyone. It feels like yesterday, when they found that legendary gear. Holding the sword, our boy truly believed Yun-Won's words that they would actually make it to the very last floor. But reality hit hard here in the chamber of hellfire. The heat was suffocating, and the enemy was unlike anything they had faced before, pushing them to their absolute limits. Seeing our boy down and vulnerable, Yun-Won didn't think twice. He charged in to intercept the fatal blow, taking the full force of the explosion to protect his friend. Coughing up blood, the physical pain is nothing compared to the realization. Looking at the shattered fragments of their journey, our boy is crushed by one thought: it was all for nothing. Lying broken on the ground facing the lava monster, Jae-won begins to question everything. Did he refuse to regress just to meet a pathetic end like this? But just as darkness closes in, a memory floods his mind. It's his fallen comrade, Yun-Won, charging desperately at the beast and screaming at Jae-won to snap out of it. It was Yun-Won's final stand. Even knowing he couldn't defeat the beast alone, he spun through the air with his blade, fighting until the very end to protect his team. That memory cuts through the despair like a lightning bolt. Our boy's eyes snap open, and despite the blood and pain, his grip on the sword tightens. The fire in his eyes is back. Screaming his friend's name with raw emotion, Jae-won channels all his grief and rage into one motion, as if trying to reach the lost soul through the monster's flesh. The lava monster, clearly agitated by this sudden resistance, stomps the ground and lets out a deafening roar before unleashing a massive explosion to shake him off. The shockwave is immense, but our boy grits his teeth and endures it. Mimicking his friend's final move, he dives from above, aiming his blade straight for the kill. This isn't just a normal slash. A blinding beam of pure energy pierces through the massive beast. The power is so intense it slices through the surrounding rock, looking almost like divine intervention. Even Jae-won looks surprised by the sheer destructive power of his own attack. Amidst the chaos and light, he falls like a meteor, signaling that the real fight has just begun. The impact was so severe that even the ancient stone structure begins to crack and crumble. It seems our boy has definitely caught everyone's attention now. Facing the surging lava and the enemy, our boy doesn't flinch. Instead, channeling the memory of his fallen comrade, he screams his name and launches a desperate strike. As the blade strikes, a painful memory surfaces. The monster before him takes the form of Yun-Won Kim, his best friend who apologized even as he lay dying in a pool of blood. In this tower of despair, Yun-Won was known as the Smiling Knight. No matter the misery, he always kept a smile on his face until that final moment on the 98th floor. Back then, Yun-Won used his last breath to beg our boy to leave, fearing he might waver. That heavy burden became a permanent scar on Jaewon's heart. But Jaewon won't be fooled by illusions anymore. His blade ruthlessly pierces the monster's core, a return stone that tried to weaponize his memories to break his will. As the illusion fades, he can almost hear his friend's relieved voice one last time. With the seal broken, the heavy gates to the outside world finally begin to open. A single falling leaf lands in his palm, a gentle touch in this dead world. Seeing it, the memory of that iconic smile flashes through his mind one last time, a silent farewell. No more words are needed. Shaking off the grief, our boy's eyes harden with resolve. Honoring that smile, he turns into a streak of light and charges headfirst into the unknown. The temperature drops instantly as deadly ice spikes erupt from the ground. This isn't a winter wonderland. It's a frozen killing field set to kill. Our boy tries to charge up a counterattack, but the enemy isn't waiting around. A massive explosion of ice blasts him backward before he can even make his move. As the dust settles, a massive frostworm towers over him, mocking his efforts. But even while recovering from the blow, Jaewon fires back, asking if the beast is already tired of their little game. Tough talk aside, the power gap is real. A massive strike shatters the ground, forcing our boy to take cover behind the debris just to catch his breath. This is Velchisis, the guardian of the 99th floor. Trapped here for 10 years, Jaewon hasn't just been fighting monsters, he's been struggling to survive the environment itself against impossible odds. The only reason he survived this long isn't just grit, it's the gear left behind by falling comrades. He clutches the glowing Fire King's bracelet, a vital lifeline in this frozen hell. Touching the bracelet triggers a painful memory of Yahello dying in a cold cave. The guilt of being too weak to save her weighs heavier on him than any physical wound. Just as the bloody reality and bitter memories threaten to overwhelm him, a voice snaps him out of it. He blinks, suddenly pulled into a memory from a time before everything went wrong. Sitting in the smithy, Jay asks if our boy is planning another run. Jaewon answers with quiet confidence that he has to, and this time, he's sure he can win, which brings a smile to the old blacksmith's face. The story flashes back to the 50th floor, Adipose. Despite the constant stream of casualties and the grim atmosphere after the Guardian battle, priests formed rescue teams, refusing to let hope die out completely. Just like the priests, blacksmiths once provided free gear for the cause. Now, Jay is the only one left in Adipose, but he doesn't seem to mind after all. Our boy is literally his only remaining customer. The situation is grim, supplies have stopped, and ore is running out. Our boy reflects on how empty the tower has become, noting that the scarcity of people means a scarcity of resources. After 10 impacts, the isolation is palpable. With no new responses even from the first floor, our boy starts to wonder if humanity outside the tower has already gone extinct. Jay pauses his hammering and clears his throat, shifting the topic. He asks if our boy noticed anything strange during his recent travels, prompting Jaewon to dig into his memories. He recalls the spot where they found the first regression stone. There was cryptic graffiti reading, "A tower within a tower, a nightmare within a nightmare," which he initially dismissed as meaningless scribbles. The conversation turns to old lady Hiren, who recently vanished. In a tower where people don't age, disappearing usually means death or using a regression stone to escape. Looking at her photo with Jay, the loss hits closer to home. As the rhythmic clanging fills the room, our boy makes a sudden decision. He casually asks Jay to teach him blacksmithing skills, a request so unexpected that it makes the veteran smith freeze mid-swing. With a fleeting memory of the blacksmith's hammer sparking in his mind, we snap back to the brutal icy battlefield. The frost monster of the 99th floor is losing patience, crushing the ice beneath its feet and mocking our boy for thinking he can solo a floor no one has ever conquered. He might be out of breath, but his sharp tongue is still working just fine. When the monster admits he's remarkable, our boy just scoffs. Getting a final compliment from the monster trying to kill you isn't exactly flattering. Enough talk. Our boy launches a sudden strike, but the monster isn't fazed. Instead, its gaze locks onto his crumbling armor, spotting the weakness instantly with a chilling glare. Giving him no time to breathe, the beast brings its massive claw down. With a sickening sound of cracking ice and metal, it declares that this game is over the moment his armor gives out. Just as the fatal blow is about to flatten him, our boy shows off his insane reflexes. He launches himself into the air, barely dodging the smash that would have ended him. He dodged the hit, but the shockwave is unavoidable. A massive explosion of ice and raw energy engulfs the battlefield, tearing up everything in its wake. Blood drips onto the ice as the smoke clears. He's battered and bruised, but he stands his ground with a firm stomp. The monster, seeing his stubbornness, starts playing mind games, telling him that fighting is pointless. The frost creeps closer like a curse while the monster twists the knife, mocking him for being alone and destined for a miserable death. It's trying to break his spirit before breaking his body. Our boy has finally had enough of the yapping. He looks up, blood streaming down his face, and coolly tells it to shut up. He punctuates the sentence with a furious stab, piercing right through the ice barrier. But the boss isn't impressed. It blocks the attack effortlessly, mocking him for using the same old stab move. Little does it know, that simple stab is the very thing that's going to bring this tower down. The enemy mocks his technique, but Jae-won ignores the taunts. He recalls his early days in the tower, when he missed out on all the powerful hidden skills simply because he arrived later than everyone else. With no other choice, he decided to master just one thing: stabbing. After repeating the motion 50 million times, his basic attack evolved into a technique more powerful than any rare skill, shocking his allies. That was the turning point. His stabbing wasn't just a basic move anymore. It had become faster, more precise, and honed enough to be his ultimate weapon. Back in the present, though, the fight is brutal. Even with his honed technique, our boy has to stab hundreds of times in a split second just to scratch this monster's impenetrable armor. Cornered and unable to dodge, a flash of light from the clash triggers a painful memory. It's the same light he saw on the 98th floor, a reminder of the friend he lost. Fueled by that memory, he channels all his rage into one desperate strike. The impact is devastating, shattering the ice armor with a massive explosion. As the dust settles, our boy lands, battered and bleeding. The enemy's armor is broken, revealing his furious true face, but he's still standing. Jae-won clicks his tongue. He was hoping to end it right there. The demon is done playing games. Unfurling massive ice wings, he gathers a terrifying amount of energy, determined to wipe our boy out of existence once and for all. The battle starts poorly, as a massive ice explosion sends our boy flying. Before he can recover, another aerial attack forces him to scramble desperately, realizing he can't win like this. Seeing Jae-won battered and bleeding, the ice monster taunts him, claiming he might have stood a chance with allies. It mentions a nightmare stone, a term that leaves our guy completely confused. The monster doesn't give him time to think, slamming down an attack that shatters the surrounding ice structure and burying the battlefield in debris. Barely escaping the chaos, our boy barricades himself behind a metal door. Looking at his critical HP bar, he gasps for air, realizing just how close he came to dying. The monster's taunts about the nightmare stone linger in his mind. With that mystery unsolved, 5 harsh years pass in this frozen wasteland as he trains for a rematch. A massive impact shatters the silence, but this time the outcome is different. As max-level notifications spam his vision, our boy sits casually atop the defeated monster's corpse, annoyed by the endless pop-ups. Jae-won demands answers about the nightmare stone from his dying foe. The monster merely points him to the last floor before dissolving, leaving behind a strange, dagger-like object. As the blue slime erupts skyward, the gateway to the final floor opens. Our boy stands ready, knowing the end of his long climb is finally here. With a fearless smirk, Jae-won doesn't hesitate. Driven by his desire for the truth, he steps straight into the swirling abyss to see what lies beyond. Instead of a final boss arena, the portal dumps him into a dark body of water. As he breaks the surface, he realizes he's in a place labeled Control Room. Looking around, he realizes this isn't a dungeon. Floating screens monitor every corner of the tower, revealing that his entire world was just data to be watched. Suddenly, a casual voice breaks the silence. A mysterious figure appears, not attacking, but complaining about how slow and outdated the tower's system is. Then, a system window delivers the ultimate insult. Congratulations on completing the tutorial. Decades of suffering and sacrifice are reduced to a mere game notification. Jae-won stands frozen in the water, processing the horror. The administrator steps forward with a golden heel, seemingly amused by the shock on our boy's face. The entity looks down on him with glowing eyes, offering condescending praise. He clearly has no idea he's provoking a man who literally stabbed the world system to get here. Jae-won stands silent, back turned to the mocking entity. The water is calm, but anyone who knows our boy knows this is just the quiet before the storm breaks. Before our boy can even catch his breath, a creepy voice cuts through the silence. This new entity isn't just ugly, he's acting way too familiar. He introduces himself as Beast Rain, the master of the nightmare tower our boy just destroyed. Judging by his theatrics, he's the type who enjoys toying with people. He mocks the previous battles as a mere tutorial, claiming the real game starts now. With a twisted grin, he prepares to show our boy something specifically designed to break him. With a snap of his fingers, reality warps. Our boy is confused until a familiar scene unfolds and names of fallen comrades start floating in the air. Illusions of old friends appear, digging straight into our boy's trauma. Seeing them introduce themselves like it's the first time, this demon knows exactly where to strike. Beastrain narrates over the memories, like a twisted director, mocking the bonds that are gone forever and forcing our boy to watch his younger self fight. Then the tone shifts. The illusion cycles to the tragic moments, friends dying, apologies whispered with last breaths. This isn't nostalgia, it's psychological torture. Seeing our boy shaken, the demon plays his trump card. He offers the one thing most walkers couldn't resist, a chance to wipe away the regret and start over. New Game Plus with full memories. It sounds like a fantasy trope, but here it is as a system prompt. Just one click, and supposedly, all those tragedies can be rewritten. The demon looms over him, waiting for the bait to be taken. In his mind, no human could possibly refuse a perfect do-over after seeing so much suffering. In this cruel apocalyptic world, humanity's only hope was to keep climbing the tower, searching for that legendary chance to save everything. When our boy firmly states he won't turn back, the demon opposite him bursts into maniacal laughter, as if hearing the world's biggest joke. After the laughter dies down, the creature drops the harsh truth. Stop dreaming, there is no item in this tower that can send anyone back in time. J1 tries to argue about the regression stone, only to be told it's all a scam. Humans were deceived. That stone was never a salvation. It's actually a nightmare stone. It turns out all his comrades, who chose to return, didn't go to the past, but were trapped in an eternal fake dream. Our boy lowers his head in silence, seemingly accepting his fate. The demon takes this cue to bring up the system window, congratulating him on finally finishing the tutorial. Just as the demon thinks he's won, J1 suddenly thanks him. Thanks to that arrogant explanation, the true nature of this nightmare tower is finally revealed. Realizing the tower is just a fabricated dream, our boy has made up his mind. Sword in hand, he declares his intent to kill the entity and proceed to the next floor. The entity mocks his determination, claiming this is the end and there is no next floor. But J1, having hardened his resolve, refuses to believe a single word of it. Seeing that intimidation isn't working, the beast changes tactics. It starts offering hidden items and skills as a reward, trying to bribe our boy into submission. Our boy immediately shuts down the offer, having no interest in such trash. Realizing simple bribes won't work, the entity asks the ultimate question: don't you want to return to your old world? Before he can react, reality warps around him. The hellish landscape is replaced by a familiar city scene, complete with a couple discussing movie tickets, leaving our guy completely bewildered. The jarring shift in reality leaves J1 questioning his sanity. The scene transitions rapidly again, and before he knows it, he's standing on a crowded bus with the demon's laughter echoing in his ears. To shatter his mental defenses, the entity reveals a world where everyone is alive and well. It then directs J1's attention to a hospital ward to show him the most important thing. Standing by a hospital bed, our boy is absolutely shook. He stares down at a comatose patient hooked up to machines, realizing he's looking at his own physical body. While Mino guards his unconscious body in the real world, the Nightmare Lord taunts J1 within his mind, revealing that the agonizing decades passed here are merely a month outside. The demon tries to intimidate him by comparing their power gap to humans and dragons, but our boy isn't impressed, coolly reminding the beast that he's already slain a dragon before. Laughing off what he thinks is arrogance, the demon drops his guard just as J1 unleashes that legendary thrust he practiced billions of times, aiming to end this conversation. The impact triggers a sudden flashback to a time before J1 became this cold warrior, showing a moment where he desperately searched for his friends in the crumbling tower. It turns out this isn't their first bout. Trapped in this mental prison, J1 has fought this demon every single day for decades, refusing to give up even when he couldn't leave a scratch. Ironically, the demon is the one losing his cool against such stubbornness. He holds back his killing intent, viewing J1 as a rare, high-value product that he can't afford to damage. The entity finally reveals its true nature as a cultivator. To him, climbers are just seeds to be screened in the tutorial before being sent to the great realm for further ripening. But in all his years of farming humans, he's never met a crop that refuses to leave the tutorial. Losing patience, the demon starts wondering if he should just cut his losses and kill him. The tower administrator is stressing out. He views our boy as a high-value product to be sold, worrying that fighting back too hard might damage the merchandise and ruin his payday. But J1 couldn't care less about the demon's financial problems, he's just looking for the next opening. Another clash, another headache. The demon blocks the strike effortlessly, begging J1 to just accept the system and start the main game like everyone else. He's trying to reason with logic, but our boy only speaks the language of violence right now. While the demon keeps yapping about a win-win situation, he suddenly feels an ominous rumble. Our boy isn't listening to a word of the sales pitch. He's charging up for something massive. No hesitation, no mercy. J1 unleashes a devastating thrust that tears through the air with a deafening roar, the sheer force of the impact blasting debris everywhere. When the dust settles, the demon is unharmed and utterly baffled. He pins J1 down, desperate to know what bribe will work, skills, items, anything. But our boy spits out blood and gives the same stubborn answer: he's just going to beat the boss and climb the tower his way. Realizing violence and bribery won't work, the demon sighs and literally pulls up a chair to give a lecture. He starts explaining the concept of a multiverse to blow J1's mind, only to get roasted. Apparently, they teach sci-fi concepts on Earth too. Ignoring the sass, the demon continues his lore dump. He reveals that the true universe is the Great Realm, and Earth is just World 294. The Nightmare Tower isn't just a dungeon, it's a tutorial system designed to adapt humans for the real world. Finally showing his true colors, the demon summons a miniature tower in his hand, his eyes glowing with malice. He explains that his role is to guide them to this new world, though he conveniently leaves out the part about selling them as slaves. Facing the colossal shadow, the demon beast Rain doesn't attack immediately. Instead, he plays the philosopher, asking our boy if he's curious why his world was the one chosen for destruction. Our boy listens with a cold expression as the creature continues to ramble, claiming it was all just a cosmic coincidence, trying to mask the invasion with grand excuses. But who buys that garbage? Glancing at a ruined teddy bear in the rubble, a symbol of lost innocence, J1 cuts him off cold, demanding the real reason behind the Nightmare Tower. Caught off guard, the demon puts on a show. He stammers for a second before laughing it off, claiming this is all volunteer work and spinning a fairy tale about a paradise where humans and demons live together. While the demon keeps yapping, a system window only he can see orders him to stall for time. Unfortunately for him, our boy's instincts are razor sharp. He sees right through the act and calls it out immediately. Bullshit! The scene shifts to a brutal reality check. Even with every ability maxed out, our boy finds himself beaten bloody and kneeling on the ice, unable to overcome the demon within this world's rules. Can a human truly never beat a demon? Amidst this despair, a strange heartbeat resonates within him. He starts to suspect that it's not his lack of strength, but the system itself that's holding him back. Following that strange sensation, J1 spots glitch-like crystals floating in the air. He reaches out without hesitation, finally grasping the truth of this world. It's all just an illusion. Staring at the shifting golden particles, our boy has an epiphany. These aren't just special effects. They are the fundamental building blocks of this world. Playing along to gather intel, he asks about these so-called masters. The shadowy figure hiding behind the scenes lights up immediately, thrilled that his product is finally showing interest. Like a boss making empty promises, the entity rambles on about the rewards of clearing the game, getting a bit too touchy-feely as he tries to force his twisted logic onto our boy. Turns out, it only works if the player chooses voluntarily. After roasting the admin for sounding like a desperate insurance salesman, J1 makes a promise. He'll leave in exactly 10 days. 9 days fly by. Watching our boy do nothing but repetitive sword training day in and day out, the admin is getting fed up, thinking he's just doing it for attention. This nightmare lord clearly has zero patience. As the deadline approaches, he starts raging about getting scammed by dream demons into buying this buggy, defective tower. It turns out this so-called expert level tower is an antique that requires the product's consent to end the game, unlike the newer models that can force quit. The outdated tech is driving him absolutely crazy. Despite sobbing about being too poor to upgrade, the 10th day has finally arrived. As the system prompt to return pops up, the admin screams at the screen in anticipation. Go on! Just press yes! Even though he's pinned to the ground, our boy refuses to stay down. Gripping his sword tight, he starts seeing strange particles floating in the air, realizing his attacks are about to evolve. Sensing something dangerous, the demon tries to crush him with a giant claw, but the pressure only acts as a catalyst. In that split second, a new sense awakens within him. For the first time, seeing the truth of the world makes him feel truly alive. Meanwhile, the demon, oblivious to what just happened, continues preparing his next move. Losing his patience, the demon stops playing around and binds our boy with crushing energy tentacles, planning to end this fight by force. Dropping the act, the demon reveals the grim truth of the Nightmare Tower. If players don't follow the rules, they become trapped in this prison forever. With a twisted grin, the demon declares that he's going to keep our boy in prison right here until he's fully cultivated for the main game. Instead of panicking, our boy calmly starts reciting the demon's full bio, his real name, age, and dirty secrets, leaving the villain completely shocked. While the demon is reeling in confusion, our boy delivers the punchline. If he's just a product being cultivated, then it's time for the harvest, and he breaks free with an explosive counterattack. Our boy had been suspicious of the system for a while, and that suspicion finally evolved into an awakening. Staring down his captors, he smirks and tells them he's done being their little experiment. Words turn into violence instantly. Our guy meets the monster's ferocious charge head-on, his weapon clashing against the creature's limbs in a blinding explosion of sparks and force. Seizing the opening, he charges up a massive blast of blue energy. The monster is visibly freaking out, unable to comprehend how a human possesses this kind of power, wondering if he's a glitch in the system. In the heat of battle, his mind drifts back to the day he reached the 100th floor. Surrounded by fragments of memories, he recalls wondering if this entire tower was just a twisted dream. He questioned everything, wondering if his maxed out stats meant anything, or if the demon standing before him could even kill him. This constant doubt was exactly what pushed him closer to the truth. Seeing the fabric of the world tearing apart, all doubt vanished. Finally understanding the true essence of his stab, he launches himself forward like a living projectile, aiming to end it all. The attack lands with devastating force, tearing right through the monster's defenses. As the system screams that synchronization limits have been lifted, the creature realizes it's completely outmatched. Facing the demon's hysterical roar and relentless attacks, our boy takes the hit but cracks a wild smile. To Beast Rain, humans are just fragile insects that stand no chance against a demon. But this level of despair is just another Tuesday for our boy. Gripping his sword tighter while the demon mocks his repetitive attacks, that terrifying milestone 10 billion is about to be reached. The moment the stab count hits 10 billion, everything shifts. The rules of the world crumble before our boy's eyes. He hasn't just surpassed physical limits, he shattered the system's very definition of his existence. Only by breaking free from the system does he feel truly human. Now, through his awakened eyes, he finally sees the source of the dissonance, the invisible link connecting the demon to the tower. Now that he can see the weak point, it's game over. Our boy turns into a streak of light, focusing all his power into a single point aimed directly at that vital connection. Beast Rain finally panics, realizing this isn't simple adaptation, it's a higher dimensional power. But by the time he senses the danger, our boy's blade is already at his throat. There's no escaping it, the earth-shattering strike lands perfectly. With a deafening roar, the demon's proud defense crumbles like paper before this attack. As the dust settles, our boy stands tall, his golden eyes radiating absolute dominance. He coldly declares that humans are living beings, not just products for demons to trade and discard. With his blade hovering over the terrified tower master, our boy makes it clear he's done playing games. He knows the system is a lie, and instead of clearing the floor, he's ready to break the whole structure to find the truth. Ignoring the monster's desperate pleas and lies about a next floor, J1 touches the rune stone and confirms his suspicion. This tower isn't a stairway to heaven, it's a prison designed to keep them trapped in an endless loop. Piecing together the cryptic clues from his journey, the shocking truth finally clicks. All these nightmare towers are just cheap imitations of the legendary Tree of Illusion. If they're at the roots, there must be a way to the trunk. While the boss remains confused, J1 looks up with a confident smirk. The way out isn't forward, it's straight through the ceiling. Unleashing the power of his billion repetition thrust, he obliterates the tower master and the structure itself. The tutorial system crashes under the weight of his attack, bringing the long nightmare to an abrupt end. As the dust settles, the cold walls are replaced by a vibrant jungle. Taking a breath of real air, our boy realizes he's finally made it out. Welcome to the world after the fall. But this new world doesn't believe in warm welcomes. Immediately upon arrival, the ground shakes as a pack of horned beasts decides our boy looks like a tasty snack. Facing the pouncing beast, J1 doesn't waste words. He greets the locals with a swift, deadly slash, proving instantly that he's not prey. The beast mocks his first attack as shallow, but it clearly underestimated who it's dealing with. Our boy responds with a normal stab that obliterates the creature in a single strike. As the massive carcass hits the ground, the fight is already over. Standing amidst the gore, Jae-won is unimpressed. The monsters in this new world are far weaker than he expected. No time to rest, though. 3 robed, green-skinned figures emerge from the woods, speaking broken gibberish about horns and looking very unhappy to see a human. Even with his special vision, he can't understand their language. He tries to offer the horn as a peace offering, but diplomacy fails instantly as they lunge for the kill. If they won't talk, violence is the only language left. Jae-won dominates the fight and pins the leader down, demanding to know where he is while holding a blade to its head. The creature is surprisingly committed. It bites off its own tongue to avoid spilling secrets. Our boy is left holding the severed piece, shocked by the monster's sheer willpower to commit suicide. With no intel to be gained, he loots the body and finds a simple pouch. It hits him, then the convenient system interface is gone, and he's back to manual inventory management. Survival 101, Loot Management. Our boy inspects the scattered crystals, noting these stones of fallen souls can boost mana. Being practical, he grabs only the high-value ones and leaves the rest to save inventory space. Next up, a questionable snack. Ignoring food safety laws, he bites directly into a monster's horn. Despite the weird vibrations and energy feedback, he crunches down on it, testing if it provides a power boost. While snacking, he spots an old scroll in the rubble. It's a map of chaos, detailing locations like the Tree of Illusion that weren't in the files the demon gave him. Annoyed by the incomplete intel, he crumples the map in frustration. Meanwhile, nearby, a chaotic chase is unfolding. A red-haired woman is sprinting through the jungle, and she's not alone. She's frantically leading a pack of roaring beasts toward a specific destination. She's playing dirty, too. She accidentally throws a dagger to trip up her teammate, feigning clumsiness. The guy, blinded by her looks, brushes it off with a blush, completely unaware he's being set up as bait. But the panic sets in quickly. The team realizes too late that she hasn't just brought stragglers, she's lured a massive 2-horned beast right onto their heads. High above, our boy watches the drama with a critical eye. He spots the red-haired girl as the strongest, but seeing their terrible teamwork, he predicts a swift and painful wipeout for this squad. Right on cue, one guy tries to be a hero, shouting out his ultimate move, Fire King's Breath. But before he can even finish the pose, reality hits him in the face literally as the monster sends him flying. While the red-haired duo is busy bickering over friendly fire, they completely miss the massive shadow above them. The 2-horned beast is dropping in for a free meal. Just in the nick of time, our boy leaps from the cliffs above. With no fancy magic, just a single, overwhelming thrust, he pierces straight through the monster's skull. The impact triggers a massive explosion. As the dust settles, Jae-won stands firm atop the monster's corpse, like a god of war now that is a superhero landing. He looks cool and all, but when he tries to ask where he is, only garbled gibberish comes out. Clearly, the language patch hasn't installed yet. Despite their fear of this stranger, Mio's group cautiously tries to claim the loot. They can't believe a monster that usually requires a 10-man raid was one-shot by a single stab. Mino, the Witch of Destruction, senses something is off. Almost no one in this world can kill a 2-horned beast with just a physical stab, so she steps up to demand his identity. Instead of answering, our boy blankly asks what chaos is. This reaction completely floors Mino. How can anyone exist here without knowing the name of their own world? Rewinding slightly to the moment the beast fell, Jae-won stands high above them. Fresh to this world and unable to speak the language, he has no idea what kind of trouble he's just stepped into. Just as our boy finishes the fight, he gets cornered by these locals. The musclehead in charge is suspicious. Finding a random guy who speaks their language out here is practically unheard of. The guy gets right in Jae-won's face, trying to intimidate him into giving up the loot. Our boy doesn't even blink, casually letting them have the monster's body, since he couldn't care less about it. The group is baffled. This guy took down a 2-horned beast with a basic stab, no skills used. The red-haired witch tries to scan his stats, but her system throws nothing but errors, as if our boy doesn't even exist on the grid. Frustrated that her skills won't work, Mino demands to know who he is. Instead of answering, our boy just gives her a cold stare and asks a question that stuns everyone. What is chaos? That question sets her off. Not knowing what chaos is while standing right in it. She's convinced he's mocking her intelligence and starts asking sarcastically if she needs to speak slower for him. The question, "Who are you?" actually makes him pause. Ever since he entered the tower, his old life on Earth, his family, his identity feels like a distant, fading dream. Even the bonds he forged inside the tower vanished when he refused to turn back time. If everyone else returned to the past, then for all intents and purposes, he really is just a ghost with no history here. Since explaining the truth is too complicated, he goes with the simplest excuse: "I've lost my memory." Mino isn't buying that cliche for a second, looking like she's about to explode from sheer disbelief. Mino keeps pestering him for answers, so our boy finally flashes his weapon just to shut her up. Seeing it devour other gear, Mino immediately jumps to conclusions. He's not actually strong, he's just carrying a high-level spirit weapon. The spies lurking in the shadows aren't intimidated at all. In fact, seeing him openly display such a rare weapon convinces them that he's just a clueless rookie showing off expensive gear and easy target. Mino is furious about her ruined mission, but she knows she wouldn't have survived without him. So, the cunning witch swallows her pride, puts on a charming smile, and tries to bait our boy into a partnership using a rare skill book as leverage. Our boy might be quiet, but he's not stupid. He knows exactly what she's doing. She basically wants a hitman. Still, her warning isn't wrong. Even if he minds his own business, the greedy scavengers eyeing his weapon are coming regardless. As night falls, the group sets up camp in the dangerous jungle. While they claim it's to avoid nocturnal beasts, the shady followers are whispering by the fire, eyeing our boy who seems to be sleeping carelessly on the side. These guys really think they figured him out. After scanning his mana levels, they're convinced his stats are garbage, and that he's just a weakling who got lucky with a high-level item drop. In their limited worldview, a weapon like that comes from the branches of the abyss, implying he relies on borrowed power. They get more excited by the minute, thinking he's already a dead man walking. Lying in the dark, our boy finds their ignorance almost funny. They think he's a scavenger from the branches, having no idea his power was forged in the roots of the tower, a hell much worse than anything they know. Finally, greed overpowers caution. The sound of rushing footsteps signals their attack, but for our boy, this isn't an ambush, it's just a little warm-up exercise. While Mino is panicking about the approaching enemies, our boy is just lounging on a rock like he's on vacation. She practically tackles him, desperate to know where his powerful sword is. With zero urgency, our boy admits he lent his spirit weapon to a random guy on night watch. Mino is flabbergasted, and rightly so, because the enemies step out of the shadows, thanking our guy for the free loot. Realizing it's a trap, Mino prepares to fight with a deathly glare. Our boy steps back, deciding it's the perfect time to sit back and observe just how strong the Witch of Destruction really is. The mob enemies think they have the numbers advantage and rush in. Big mistake. Mino moves like a blur, unleashing a crimson slash before they even know what hit them. The dust settles instantly, leaving the enemies dead on the ground. Mino stands amidst the carnage, surrounded by floating purple spears, finally living up to her terrifying reputation. Just as the fight ends, a new challenger approaches. A mysterious woman with an eye patch steps out, looking at the mess Mino made and smirking. "So you must be the Witch of Destruction." A surviving enemy stutters in fear, asking if she's from the notorious Black Forest clan. The woman just smiles chillingly, implying that it doesn't matter who sent her, they're all done for anyway. Mino tries to play it cool, claiming she's just being hunted for piking noobs, but these mercenaries aren't buying it. The red-haired leader scoffs, revealing they were hired specifically to take down the witch. The enemy leader openly mocks Mino's weapon, convinced that she's cornered. In his eyes, this is already a done deal, and no amount of struggle will save her. Despite her tough talk, Mino realizes she's in trouble. All these enemies are skilled, adapted players. The mercenaries also clock our boy Jae-hwan, wary of him since he one-shot the beast earlier. Suddenly, the quiet mercenary reveals his true form. He's Black Fox, from the notorious Red Fox clan. Mino realizes they sent half their forces just for her, and the situation goes from bad to worse. Faced with such an elite hit squad, Mino uses sarcasm to hide her nerves. She acts honored by the attention, but the sweat running down her face tells a different story. Knowing the odds are impossible, Mino realizes she can't protect the amnesiac newbie. She turns to our boy and makes a selfless decision to give him her only way out. She hands him a precious return stone, explaining that it will teleport him to the nearest fortress. She's planning to stay behind and fight so he can escape. but our boy just stares at the stone coldly. With a sudden crunch, he crushes the precious item into dust. To him, a tool meant only for running away is worse than useless. It's an insult. Looking at the crystal, our boy briefly wonders if he could have saved his friend. But when Mino asks if he'd ever return to the past, his answer is absolute, a complete rejection of the easy way out. Inspired by his resolve, Mino declares she'd rather die than go back. Seeing the danger, our guy steps in to shield her, calmly assuring her that dying isn't on the schedule today. Mino leaps to safety, leaving the stage to our boy. The enemies immediately pounce, with one unleashing a furious Fire King technique in a desperate attempt to overwhelm him. Unfazed by the onslaught, our guy's eye glows gold as he enters the third stage of awakening. Oblivion, erasing the false identity and rules forced upon him by this world. The enemy's attacks look fierce, but to our awakened boy, they're full of openings. With zero hesitation, he unleashes that refined, simple thrust he's practiced billions of times. It's over in a split second. The arrogant Fire King doesn't even realize what hit him before he's crushed by the sheer pressure of our boy's strike. This so-called shallow stab unleashes devastation, obliterating the enemy mob in an instant. Watching from the sidelines, Mino is left in total shock. This isn't just a skill, it's a whole different dimension of power. With the beast down, Mino figures she might as well loot the valuable horns. But our boy isn't paying attention to the treasure. He's completely lost in thought, looking way too intense for a simple looting session. Seeing his intensity, Mino finally asks the real question. Who are you really? Instead of a straight answer, our boy turns and hits her with a cryptic. Have you already forgotten? Just when Mino thinks he's revealing a dark secret, he drops the act. Give me back my return stone. Turns out he hasn't lost his memories at all, he just wants his gear back. Mino instantly starts sweating and making excuses. While Mino frantically searches for the stone she definitely lost, our boy sits by the fire, casually munching on the beast's remains. To him, this bizarre hellscape actually feels peaceful right now. Returning to the topic of identity, our guy gives a simple, powerful answer. I'm a human being. In a world full of monsters and the dead, that raw honesty catches Mino off guard. So am I, and that's enough. No titles, no complex backstories. Just the fact that they are both human is enough reason to lower their guards and share a moment of peace by the fire. A system notification silently appears. J1 has reached the third stage of awakening. Oblivion. By rejecting the identity imposed by this world, his mind and movements have transcended their limits. The next day, as they trek through the forest, Mino brings up his past again. When she confirms that he really doesn't remember anything, she actually looks envious of his clean slate. Mino glances back at our stoic boy and brings up the topic of memory loss, hinting that in this world called chaos, holding on to your past might actually be a curse. As they speak, they finally arrive at the massive Gorgon fortress. But before our boy can even take in the sights of the towering stronghold, Mino prepares to drop another truth bomb. The moment he steps onto the platform, a piercing ringing noise hits him. Our boy freezes as repressed memories violently flood back into his mind. The screams of fallen comrades echo in his ears. The hellish scenes of betrayal and slaughter from the tower replay before his eyes like a twisted nightmare. Seeing the cold sweat on his face, Mino remains completely unfazed. She's seen this exact look of existential dread on countless newcomers who just realized where they are. It turns out, everyone who graduated from the Nightmare Tower is actually dead. Only a chosen few ascend to glory, while the vast majority of failures end up dumped here. This is the afterlife, and the stakes are final. If you die in chaos, your soul is erased forever to become fertilizer. Our boy realizes he didn't escape hell, he just moved to a different level. Mino points to the massive glowing tree, explaining that the towers are just roots and chaos is the stem. This perfectly matches the secret lore that Malak once whispered to him. But instead of despair, this news gives him purpose. If there's a world above this one, he just has to stab his way up there too. With renewed determination, they step into the fortress. The guards here act more like bullies than protectors, shouting at the exhausted souls, and even physically humiliating the weak just for kicks. Mino tries to use her reputation to breeze through the checkpoint, but her acquaintance in the guard refuses to budge, insisting on a formal certificate. Hearing about the mandatory paperwork, Mino glances at our boy who clearly has nothing and a sly grin forms on her face. She sees an opportunity. Since charm didn't work, Mino resorts to bribery with a valuable monster horn. The guard's attitude flips instantly, and he happily waves her through. When it's Jaewon's turn, he calmly admits he has no papers. Mino stands by, amused, waiting for him to beg her for help so she can play the hero. But our guy isn't the type to beg. Instead of asking for help, he simply raises his hand. Mino panics, realizing he might be crazy enough to attack the guards. Mino's mind races with the worst-case scenario. If he actually attacks, these guards will be blown away before they even know what hit them. Desperate to stop the potential bloodbath, Mino shouts out to intervene, leaving James confused about why the Witch of Destruction is so panicked. The guards panic as the infamous Inspector Carlton arrives. Introduced as the most honest official, he immediately kicks a subordinate, establishing his dominance right away. Realizing our boy has no certificate, Carlton switches to bureaucrat mode, reciting the Fortress Laws chapter and verse to justify blocking his entry. It's not just talk. He activates a skill that forces everyone to physically obey his commands. Even Nino is crushed under the pressure, forced to kneel against her will. But our boy just shrugs off the pressure completely. He stands tall, flatly refusing to show his status window or criminal history to the inspector. Carlton tries to physically restrain him with magical lightning chains, but our boy simply flexes his fist and shatters the bonds like they were made of glass. The guards stare in total disbelief at the broken chains. Watching this display of raw power, Mino finally realizes just how outclassed she is compared to him. Since brute force is messy, a rare monster part is revealed instead. Suddenly, the honest guards decide to look the other way, accepting the bribe instantly. Our boy doesn't have time for bureaucracy. He just tosses a valuable item like it's pocket change to pay the toll. The guard completely loses it, screaming about bribery and audacity. Just as the guard is about to arrest him, the high-ranking official steps in. Hearing the name, Jaewon, his demeanor shifts entirely. It seems he's been expecting our boy. Meanwhile, Mino is in trouble. Her system is screaming warnings about spirit contamination. Luckily, she has one of those horns handy and starts chowing down immediately to recover. Everyone watches in disbelief as she snacks on the horn. Those things are rare lifesavers against contamination, and our boy just gave it away to his teammate like it was nothing. Now it's our boy's turn for the scan. The official confidently uses his device, only for it to glitch out completely. Unable to measure. That's definitely not supposed to happen. If the machine can't read him, it proves he's not just another fallen soul. The official's expression turns serious. Our boy's presence here clearly defies all the standard rules. The official hands the item back, tentatively calling him a messenger, but our boy coldly shuts that title down. It's clear that in this standoff, Jaewon is the one holding the cards. The gatekeeper, James, is completely baffled by his superior's decision. He can't understand why they just let such a suspicious character walk free, so he presses for an answer. But the officer saw something else entirely. Our boy touched the corrupted soul stones with his bare hands, a feat supposedly only possible for a specific ancient lineage. And that glitch with the scanner? It wasn't broken. It turns out our boy's soul is so pristine that the machine read 0% corruption and impossibility in this world. Regardless of his lineage, a soul that pure is exactly what the castle lord needs right now. That strategic value is the real reason he was allowed entry. Business aside, the officer didn't forget the small details. He calls out James specifically for taking a bribe from Mino earlier, just to keep him on his toes. Back in the city, the tough act is over. Mino has completely passed out, leaving our boy to carry her like luggage through the confusing streets of Gorgon. Despite the bureaucratic nightmare and the guards reciting endless laws at the gate earlier, they managed to slip through the cracks without any actual violence this time. Now that they're inside, our boy wastes no time. He starts hunting for a blacksmith skilled enough to handle weaponry that matches his immense power. Mino finally wakes up, surprised they made it inside safely. But before she can celebrate, our boy hits her with a cold reality check. It's time to part ways. Realizing our boy is actually leaving her behind, Mino panics. She chases after him, desperately backpedaling on her attitude, knowing that being abandoned here is a death sentence. She even reveals her corrupted, skeletal form to gain sympathy, trying to guilt-trip him. When that doesn't work, she tries reverse psychology, tearfully suggesting they just part ways. But our boy calls her bluff and keeps walking. Realizing her acting isn't working, Mino drops the act and screams the only leverage she has left. He's lost, and she's the only one who knows the map. That finally gets his attention. Jaewon stops and tells her he's looking for a dream demon. Since she knows where to look, she secures her spot as his guide. But they don't get far before the classic local thugs show up. They block the path, eyeing Jaewon's weapon greedily and tossing cheap insults at Mino. The leader smirks and mentions their secret weapon, a guy named Junior, who's apparently going through puberty. They threaten that if Jaewon doesn't hand over his sword, the kid will get upset. Jaewon instantly refuses, and just as Mino wonders who this Junior is, a massive, muscle-bound giant steps forward. This is their idea of a 12-year-old. The giant man baby throws a tantrum because someone swore, swinging a massive blade. Since talking is off the table, our boy and Mino decide to teach these guys a quick lesson in pain. Before the big guy can even finish his sentence, our boy slams him face first into the concrete. Surrounded or not, Jaewon looks bored. He really hates it when villains talk too much. With Mino looking shot behind him, and the gang circling around, Jaewon casually taunts them. "If you want to fight, then hurry up and come at me." It takes a second for the gang to realize their buddy didn't just get hit, he got his hand chopped off in the blink of an eye. Panic and rage instantly set in as they scream for revenge. If they have a death wish, he's happy to oblige. The mob charges in screaming, but our boy barely even blinks. The outcome was decided the moment they drew their weapons. The fight ends faster than it started. One moment chaos, the next silence. Jaewon casually wipes the energy residue off his glove, leaving nothing but devastation in his wake. Mino stares at the carnage and asks the obvious question. "You beat them all just by stabbing?" When Jaewon admits that's literally his only skill, she recalls another weirdo who only used slashing, leaving Jaewon a bit confused. But Mino has a bigger concern. "Why did you smash the roof opposite us?" Jaewon explains he sensed a cloaked spy over there. To him, eliminating a hidden threat is worth a little property damage. "Who destroys a roof just to scare someone?" Mino asks, exasperated. But Jaewon knows his old friend Yunwon would have done the exact same thing. In this world, hesitation gets you killed. Mino spends the walk trying to give his skill a cool name like Asura Infinite Spear, but Jaewon ignores her. Finally, they arrive at their destination, the Twilight Smithy, the biggest forge in Gorgon. But as soon as they walk in, a worker named Naven gives them the bad news. The head blacksmith is away, and the deputy is swamped with work. Getting any service here isn't going to be quick. At the Twilight Smithy, a challenge is issued. Whoever can drill a hole into this incredibly hard horn sword to fit a gem will be named the new deputy blacksmith. The apprentices give it their all, sparks flying everywhere, but the material is impenetrable. The boss mocks their weakness, convinced the task is impossible for them. Just as the mood sours, our boy steps up and asks for a turn. The blacksmith is skeptical, doubting a stranger could succeed where his apprentices failed, but lets him try anyway. While the boss is still rambling about how durable the horn is, our guy doesn't hesitate. He moves faster than the eye can see, and a loud clash rings out instantly. Thinking he nailed it, our boy casually asks if he's got the job. But reality hits hard. The priceless horn didn't just get a hole, it completely shattered into pieces. Seeing his fortune turn to dust, the blacksmith goes absolutely ballistic, grabbing our boy in a fit of rage. A simple oops isn't going to cut it this time. Amidst the screaming, our guy is calm, realizing the trick isn't force but precision. He offers a half-hearted apology, which only fuels the blacksmith's anger even more. Realizing that words won't fix this expensive mess, our boy prepares for the inevitable. The atmosphere shifts instantly as he draws his weapon to handle the situation. The blacksmith is furious about the broken material, but our boy stays cool and casually pulls out something way better, a Garnex's horn, leaving the apprentices completely stunned. Seeing the legendary item, the owner's attitude does a complete 180. He instantly switches from shouting to respectfully calling him, "Sir," and offering up his entire workshop. Realizing this is serious business, they lock the doors. Mino sees that our boy is about to get to work, so she decides to head out and handle her own errands for a while. As the owner of the best smithy in Gorgon, the guy knows his stuff. When he learns that our boy hunted the bees solo, his respect for Jaewon's strength hits a whole new level. But when it comes to the request, the blacksmith looks at him like he's crazy. Our boy wants to use this god-tier material just to make a sheath? It sounds like a total waste. He examines Jaewon's current weapon, dismissing it as just a pretty replica. He insists that the sword isn't worth the horn and suggests crafting a brand new weapon instead. Trying to prove his point, he tests the blade, but gets a nasty surprise. The sword reacts violently, shattering the test material and revealing itself as a terrifying spirit weapon. Watching the high-level soul energy swirl around the blade, the blacksmith finally realizes his mistake. The sword is evolving, and only a sheath made from the garnet horn can hope to contain it. Facing our boy's calm provocation, the famous daybreak craftsman starts to sweat. It's rare for anyone to remain this composed under his intense gaze. Feeling his professional pride on the line, the craftsman decides to stop holding back and show our boy the true, legendary power of a master. The scene shifts to the opulent Gorgon Inner Castle, where Prime Minister Jurgen is enjoying tea until a troubling report about a certain target ruins his mood. Jurgen realizes this is no ordinary intruder. Any target capable of completely evading his elite scouts is a threat that must be neutralized immediately. Learning that his scout was taken out without a sound, Jurgen identifies the target as at least a 5th-stage master and orders a citywide manhunt. Suddenly, a sharp pain strikes Jurgen, his eyes flashing with a strange green light. He clenches his fist in rage, struggling against a dark, internal agony. Meanwhile, in a lively tavern, a popular holographic broadcast is reaching its peak. Everyone is waiting for the host to reveal the legendary final clip. To everyone's shock, the video features our boy's solo clear of the 99th floor. This explosive reveal is about to set the entire city on fire. Elsewhere in chaos, the news is spreading like wildfire. People are gathered around holographic screens, gossiping about the maniac who supposedly smashed through the tower. To them, our boy's feat is so absurd that they're convinced it must be a fake video. While the protagonist is absent, his companion Mino is sitting at the bar, clearly in a foul mood. Of course, some random guys try to hit on her, only to get immediately shut down by the Witch of Destruction with a cold get lost. Scaring off the pests didn't help her mood. She taps the counter impatiently and demands another drink, looking for something strong enough to drown out her frustration. The alcohol loosens her tongue, and she starts ranting to the bartender, Claire, about how impossible our boy is to deal with. Claire asks the obvious question, if he's that bad, why do you stick around? That hits a nerve, and Mino slams her fist on the counter. Why is she angry? Because he's an anomaly. Mino recalls how he fights swinging his sword and smashing through obstacles, as if the rules of this world don't apply to him. Half the time, she doesn't even understand what he's talking about. He goes around picking fights without knowing a thing about chaos. But what truly stings is the cold distance he keeps, defined by the hurtful words he once threw at her, "You're not human anyway." Mino is struggling with self-doubt after our boy told her they weren't the same. Looking at the container in her hands, she's frustrated that all her hard work feels like nothing compared to his overwhelming presence. She doesn't understand why our guy is searching for a dream demon. Is it for revenge? Every time she remembers his condescending gaze, she flares up in anger at being so completely dismissed. Her companion, Claire, notices her turmoil and warns her to stay away. In the ruthless world of chaos, staying by a monster as unpredictable as our boy could easily get her killed for real. Before Mino can even process the warning, a letter arrives from Inspector Carlton. While she wonders what that stiff official wants, a mysterious figure suddenly appears to block her path. Mino strikes back, but the stranger effortlessly brushes off her attack. He claims he's too busy for a meaningless fight and insists that he needs her for an important task instead. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Manhwa is reaching his breaking point. Caught in a terrifying surge of energy, he realizes he can't control such beastly power and lets out a cry of pure desperation. The source of the chaos is our boy, currently smelting his sword. His piercing gaze leaves Manhwa stunned, wondering how such a world could even exist as they face off amidst the spiraling energy. With a deafening roar, a massive purple beast lunges from above. The impact is staggering, and the flying debris warns of the brutal battle ahead. The scene shifts to a burly blacksmith struggling with a mysterious item. His tools can't even scratch it, and just as he's about to break, our boy tells him it's not a matter of level. To master it, one must see its true nature. This is the second stage of awakening, understanding. The smith's eyes glow as the energy around him takes form. But seeing the truth comes with a heavy price. The beast's terrifying true form paralyzes the smith, and he's promptly slammed back by an overwhelming shockwave. Looking at the fallen smith, our boy coldly tells him to snap out of it. The man is spiraling into despair, feeling utterly insignificant against such a creature. This hopelessness makes everything feel like a nightmare. As his reality crumbles, he desperately tries to escape the illusion, reaching out in a helpless plea for help. At this critical moment, eerie skeletons emerge as a violent energy vortex begins to swirl. Is this total destruction, or the smith's ultimate leap to a new level? A wave of painful memories strikes. We see a man fighting a massive beast, desperately questioning how such a cruel world could even exist. With a deafening boom, his hammer slams into the monster's head. But this brutal struggle feels less like a fight and more like an outlet for his deep frustration. Crushed by the gap between species, he finally collapses. It seems a human's attempt to imitate the powers of a dream demon is nothing but a futile struggle. Back in reality, our boy is visiting the local blacksmith. The once proud crafter now calls himself a pathetic human who isn't even worthy of being an apprentice. Despite claiming to give up, the old man erupts in a fit of obsession, yelling at our boy to try a million more times just as he once desperately did. He admits that despite mastering every skill, he was actually running away from the final 1%. Meanwhile, our boy has quietly reached his maximum level. The conversation shifts to the mysterious molding skill. It's a primeval power that exists naturally, far beyond the reach of simple human logic. It turns out the old blacksmith has spent his whole life swinging his hammer without truly understanding the skill, relying solely on repetitive effort. In the stone chamber, a group of craftsmen puzzles over the truth of the molding skill. They're baffled as to why they can't replicate such a seemingly simple basic principle. However, another craftsman drives the point home: if the principle is so simple, why can't they even imitate it? The logic just doesn't add up. None of them truly understand how the skill works, and the argument grows heated. Then, the focus shifts to the calm man in the high-neck shirt observing their debate. Faced with their questions, our guy simply places his hand on a piece of black ore. Surrounded by a purple aura, the ore instantly decomposes and softens, splashing yellow liquid. In his eyes, the world appears entirely different. The very particles making up the object are being disassembled, split, and rearranged. That's the essence of molding. He tells the astonished, bearded craftsman that the issue isn't a lack of effort, but the walls the world itself has built around their perception. Meanwhile, the purple-skinned dream demon demonstrates molding in his species' way. He manipulates purple energy, effortlessly reshaping matter. The dream demon bluntly states that humans have innate limits, destined to remain apprentices forever. But our guy counters, could a world that rewards effort yet limits potential truly be called fair? He encourages the old craftsman to stop relying on the system, to see the world anew with his own eyes, and to try again. An image flashes in the craftsman's mind, scenes of our guy's own experience. A world of pure, direct combat, devoid of skill lists or interfaces. A truthful world, free from deception. At this revelation, something deeply rooted within the craftsman begins to crack. With an incredulous shout, red shockwaves erupt around him. The cognitive walls that long confined him finally shatter at this very moment. Later, at the workshop door, our guy is about to leave when he's called back. He's asked if he's truly leaving, and he replies that he got what he came for. Looking at his sword, which seems pleased with its new scabbard, he's asked if it has a name. When he says not yet, the other person earnestly requests the honor of naming the blade themselves. The scene shifts to a sly-looking burly man, seemingly showcasing his crafted weapon engraved with the character, Doke. He proudly explains, Dokbul? Doesn't that mean the lone hero? As he departs, someone bids him farewell, take care, dear customer, come back again sometime. But he only responds with a detached demeanor. However, just as he turned to leave, another person suddenly exclaimed, wait, grabbing his wrist and demanding, in the world that you see, what do I look like? The person honestly replied, you look human. Hearing this, the burly man's rage erupted completely. He didn't look back, but a terrifying energy vortex already appeared around him, engulfing the remnants on the ground. Perhaps no one can truly understand just how lonely his world truly is. The scene shifts, a new chapter begins. Our boy stands on high ground, with Mino still tagging along behind him. To his question, why do you keep following me? Mino replies with a sly smile, what, are you afraid I'm up to something? How did you know? Mino narrowed one eye, a playful smile on her face, threatening half seriously, I'm going to kill you. Our boy remained unfazed, calmly asking, kill me? For what reason? Mino bluntly stated that killing him would allow her to live comfortably by selling his stones of fallen souls. While threatening to kill him, Mino handed our boy a package of new clothes, haughtily claiming it was partly an apology and partly because she was tired of seeing him dressed like a bum. Then, she asked about his next plans, since he hadn't managed to meet the dream demon. Our boy calmly replied that he had learned from Michael how to find the dream demon. Once he found the demon, he would ask about the Tree of Illusion and how to get to the abyss. He then asked Mino, do you want to know what my goal is? Mino warned him of the Abyss's perils, stating that those who returned alive were known as Abyss warriors. But our boy's answer stunned her instantly. "I'm not coming back." What he planned to do was something even more resolute and unbelievable than being an Abyss warrior. Our boy's goal completely broke Mino's composure. She emotionally accused him of only caring about himself, disregarding others' lives, calling him a heartless jerk. However, facing Mino's rage, our boy merely raised a finger, his gaze firm and cold, as if to say he had his own reasons. Flashing between memory and reality, Mino fiercely yells at our boy, insisting that she and the people here are human too. Even if she's not as strong as him and might die for it, she refuses to go back in time. Her words clearly strike a chord with our boy. Just as Mino revealed her true feelings, a new threat emerged. Someone has taken a hostage and is forcing Mino to lure our boy into a trap. But our boy has already seen through their scheme, pinpointing their location from the shadows. Despite the hostage situation, our boy falls into deep thought. He believes that in this world controlled by numbers and data, saving individuals won't change its fundamental nature, as people have long sold their souls for higher scores. As our boy shattered some kind of crystal, he planned to ditch Mino and search for the dream demon. But before he could speak, Mino furiously lashed out, declaring that he didn't seem human to her and that she was leaving him, leaving our boy utterly stunned. Mino furiously declared their parting, hoping they'd never meet again, then ran off without looking back. Watching her disappear, our boy felt a strange stir within him at this moment. She truly seemed human. Meanwhile, those who threatened Mino were furious, cursing her betrayal and accidentally revealing that the dream demon was in their possession. Hearing this crucial information, our boy finally decided to stop observing and prepared to gear up and strike. Elsewhere, Mino, who had just fled, found herself in an unfamiliar location, wondering how she got there. At the same time, our boy arrived on the scene, apologizing to the victim for being late but stating he had anticipated this outcome. The situation remained tense as Janaya, the captor, expressed regret while brutally knocking the injured old lady hostage to the ground. He then turned his gaze to Mino, questioning why she was alone and what happened to their deal, clearly indicating Mino was also in great danger. Facing Elder Janaya's relentless questions, Mino smirks, her eyes sharp, taunting her enemies for their naivete and their failure to grasp her true intentions. Her words seem to foretell something ominous, as at the same time, the trapped people cry out in pain, while strange blades whiz through the air. The enemy clearly knows our boy's objective, and implies he won't come to rescue these people at all. Mino, however, bursts forth with full power, lunging downward amidst energy effects. Her words also reveal our boy Jaewon's true goal to destroy this world. Janaya, the elder of the Golden Sky clan, angrily berates Mino, declaring she's gone mad, clearly shocked by her actions and words. Meanwhile, a horde of shadowy monsters pounce from all directions towards the white-haired swordsman and the purple-haired man, who are clearly under attack from some shadow technique. In response to Mino's assault, a shadowy monster sneers, counter-questioning if her title, Witch of Destruction, comes from her ability to summon horned beasts. Mino, unfazed, spins and leaps high, landing a fierce purple energy kick directly on a shadowy monster. Immediately after, Mino's high-heeled foot stomps down, shattering the ground. The shadow monster's head twists from the impact, showing the incredible force of her strike. On the other side, the white-haired swordsman also swings his long sword, tracing a purple energy arc as he engages the shadowy monsters. Energy erupts in the air, forming a rapidly spinning purple X-shaped structure. Mino unleashes another purple energy slash, her movements sharp, pushing the battle to a climax. The white-haired swordsman, grim-faced, is surrounded by black, liquid-like energy, clearly battling a formidable foe. A subordinate nearby scoffs at Mino's abilities, remarking she looks more like a witch stripper, and lamenting that things would be better if they were outside. Elder Janaya, however, looks grim. He reveals the walls here are soundproofed, and no one can hear their cries for help. He orders his subordinates to stop struggling and bring Mino to him as soon as possible. Just then, another red-haired character in a hat lies injured on the ground, cursing that Janaya and his men will face the wrath of the Black Forest clan. But Elder Janaya dismisses it, stating he knows the Black Forest clan has long since. Janaya's threats continue, claiming that once the Black Forest clan learns the truth, Mino and the old woman would already be long dead. But Mino unleashes immense power, summoning the 7 sword techniques of Akar. Janaya's subordinate, however, is unimpressed. The purple-haired man shatters Mino's energy ring with his sword, scoffing at her move as merely a cute little trick. Faced with Mino's defiance, Elder Janaya flies into a rage, deciding to personally intervene and tear the Witch of Destruction to shreds. Mino falls to the ground in pain, knowing the situation is dire. She curses her enemies, enduring her wounds, as her current predicament undoubtedly adds insult to injury. Amidst the clash, a painful memory flashes back. Mino lies wounded, wondering if things would be different if she had followed our boy to see the world's end. The flash of steel brings us back to reality as an enemy lunges. But with a steady step, our boy arrives, his overwhelming presence instantly chilling the air. Amidst the rubble, Mino looks up at him and softly asks, "Did you really come to save me?" She jokes about the poor fit of her clothes, but her eyes show pure relief. Surrounded by enemies, our boy doesn't waste words. His cold gaze locks onto the leaders, as he calmly demands the location of the Dream Demon with absolute authority. As the battle brews, Mino frantically warns our boy that these are 4-stage adapted players' fortress-level threats far stronger than anyone he's faced before. Enraged by his arrogance, the enemies charge at him. But our boy effortlessly dodges their lethal strike, leaving them completely bewildered by his inhuman reaction speed. Observing his opponents, our boy notes that their strength rivals the 5-horned beast he once fought. Instead of worrying, a flicker of battle intent ignites in his cold eyes. Claire, the red-haired woman, is held hostage with a spear to her throat by a purple-haired man, who threatens the others. Amid the tense standoff, the purple-haired man slaps the black-haired man with yellow eyes across the face, telling him to shut up instead of just yelling to attack. He glanced at the fallen Claire, thinking inwardly that he wasn't interested in getting involved. He was only here for the Dream Demon. But with skeletal monsters swarming from all sides, and Claire desperately urging everyone to fight, the yellow-eyed man's gaze hardened as he decided to act. His weapon erupted with intense blue energy, followed by a terrifying beam of blue light descending from the sky, obliterating the entire area and the skeletal monsters. The explosion was massive, scattering debris everywhere and shattering the soundproof barrier. A blonde youth witnessed it all in shock. The commotion attracted the city guards, who quickly surrounded the pub. At that moment, the yellow-eyed man pointed at the purple-haired group and accused them to the arriving blonde law enforcer of violating the Gorgon criminal code. He specifically cited sections of the code, claiming the group had conspired to use the pub as a base to destroy the city. The blonde enforcer listened, then began seriously reciting the arrest charges. Amidst a chaotic street arrest, a purple-haired man attempts to apprehend a young boy. Suddenly, a golden-haired youth appears, unleashing glowing chains called silver bonds, trapping both the arrestor and his subordinate, immediately halting the capture. The golden-haired youth, wielding a luminous blue sword, coldly declared resistance futile. But the purple-haired man was no pushover. He parried the golden youth's fierce assault with a massive curved blade, igniting an intense close-quarters battle. With a furious roar, the purple-haired man unleashed a devastating strike, his massive blade infused with purple energy. Though the golden-haired youth tried to defend with his chains, the powerful impact sent him flying, slamming hard into the ground. However, the injured golden-haired youth quickly recovered, reapplying his silver bonds to subdue the defeated purple-haired man. Faced with being chained, the purple-haired man had no choice but to surrender, his broken weapon fragments scattered around him. Victorious, the golden-haired youth didn't stop. He threw a black device, triggering an explosion that released a purple, smoke-like black cloud. This substance quickly corroded the surrounding buildings, leaving the previously apprehended purple-gray youth stunned. Unfortunately, the purple-gray youth accidentally inhaled some of the black cloud, causing him immense pain. His worried companion supported him, chiding him for not properly wearing his mask, unsure if he would survive the exposure. Meanwhile, the bound purple-haired man, enduring his injuries, reported to his interrogator. Their mission was to capture the Witch of Destruction alive, but his failure was due to the unexpected interference of the silver bonds wielder, that annoying golden-haired youth. As the conversation continued amidst the ruins, it became clear that the golden youth's presence had undoubtedly complicated everything. A mysterious purple-haired man observes coldly, seeming to know exactly what's to come with the Black Cloud incident, even with a hint of schadenfreude, anticipating quite a show. Watching people desperately gnaw on blue crystals, our boy is confused. But in this brutal world, these stones are the only thing keeping their souls from rotting away. Mino explains that these stones are the only way to fight spirit contamination. It's a painful process, but it beats turning into a mindless undead monster. Peace is short-lived as a massive, rocky beast erupts from the ground. Facing this nightmare, The common folk are left with nothing but screams of pure terror. The beast lunges without mercy, its dark tentacles tearing through the air. As screams fill the air, the monster shatters the ground with terrifying, suffocating pressure. To this creature, humans are nothing more than easy prey. It roars in arrogance, acting as if it owns this god-forsaken land and can do whatever it pleases. Our boy watches the chaos unfold, a cold glint in his eyes. He wonders how humans could even survive, let alone keep their dignity in a hellish world like this. It doesn't matter what this monster is. Our boy raises his glowing blue blade, ready to put an end to its arrogant rampage once and for all. In a flash, our boy blurs into motion. A surge of blue energy tears through the monster's massive frame, shattering the beast into 1,000 pieces. With a crushing sense of dread, a massive creature glowing with an ominous red light lunges forward, its grotesque fangs and tentacles threatening to swallow everything. Fragments of memory clash in our boy's mind, shifting from a quiet snowy forest to blood-red ruins. This sudden downpour feels like a dark omen. What the heck was that thing? Gripping his spear, our boy pushes through the freezing rain, hoping someone at the pub has a lead on the dream demon. The scene shifts to a weakened Mino collapsed against a stone wall. Inspector Javier looms over her, making the atmosphere suffocatingly tense. Consumed by agony, Mino reaches her breaking point, desperately begging our boy to end her life before she loses herself completely. Looking at the suffering woman before him, our boy, usually so cold, feels his resolve waver. A strange sense of familiarity leaves him conflicted. He tells himself there's no room for emotion on his journey, yet he can't remain entirely indifferent to Mino's final, desperate struggle. Outside the tents, the guards whisper about whether she'll make it. In this broken world, Mino's fate is hanging by a single thread. Mino's condition is worsening as dark patterns spread across her skin, a clear sign of impending undeath. Meanwhile, a level 4 alert blares across Gorgon Fortress, plunging the entire city into chaos. Terrified citizens flee in every direction as grotesque rock creatures burst forth. The guards fight back desperately, but the sheer brutality of the onslaught leaves the streets stained with blood and debris. The battlefield is a chaotic blur of high-speed clashes. Amidst the carnage, the captain swings his massive blade, desperately trying to carve a path through the monsters to hold the line. Back inside, our boy stares silently at the suffering Mino. Beside him, a companion scoffs, resenting our guy's detached ideals, and accusing him of judging a world he barely understands. The tension rises as the man lashes out, claiming that our boy's pursuit of justice is a luxury the dying can't afford. To him, such heroism is dangerous, only adding to the collective misery of the fortress. Our boy remains expressionless under the verbal assault, though a hint of loneliness lingers in his eyes. Faint memories of fallen comrades flicker, reminding him why he carries this heavy burden of hope. With Mino on the brink of complete collapse, her pain turns into a primal scream. The doctor frantically orders his men to gather every scrap of medicine left. They aren't giving up on this world just yet. While they frantically grind horns to stop the contamination, the victim's condition worsens. Even rare materials can't halt the erosion of his soul. Facing a desperate plea for hope, our boy remains grim. He grabs the frantic man, using a blunt wake-up call to bring him back to his senses. Though others are shocked by his bluntness, the dying Carlton is at his limit. With his final shred of sanity, he makes a heavy request of our boy. Please kill me. It's both the law and a final act of dignity. Listening in silence, our boy reflects on the 40 lonely years he spent in that tower. The alarms blare as spirit contamination hits the breaking point. With Carlton on the verge of turning undead, the atmosphere becomes thick with tension. Right then, Captain Jahir arrives. Without a hint of mercy, he draws his massive blade, ready to execute Carlton as mandated by the Gorgon Special Act. In this world of spirits, soul contamination is an inescapable curse. Once fallen, even a former ally becomes a monster more terrifying than any beast. In the world of chaos, an undead sighting triggers an immediate lockdown of the 4 great fortresses. To prevent a wider catastrophe, eliminating the infected is the cold, hard rule everyone lives by. Captain Jahir is set on executing the contaminated Inspector Carlton, but our boy steps in, catching the blade with his bare hands. It's a move so bold it leaves everyone questioning who this stranger really is. Despite his shock, Jahir insists on the execution. A 5th stage player turning undead would be a complete disaster, and they're simply trying to prevent the worst-case scenario before it's too late. Thinking fast, our boy pulls out a rare Garnak horn and crushes it without a second thought. While everyone else gasps at the waste of such a treasure, the energy successfully halts Carlton's transformation. But just as one fire is put out, another starts. Mino's condition takes a turn for the worse. Her weak body can't hold back the contamination, and her spirit levels are hitting a critical 95%. The only hope is Dr. Chonghyo and his undead Slash, but Jaheir refuses to summon him for just one person. To him, individual lives are secondary to the fortress's overall security. Watching Mino suffer, Jaheir decides to take matters into his own hands. Rather than letting her turn, he chooses to end her life himself as a final act of mercy, just as she once requested. As Jaheir swings his weapon, chaos erupts. But amidst the struggle, a strange shimmer begins to envelop Mino. Is this the end, or the start of something no one predicted? Our boy's eyes flash with intensity as energy crackles around him. Amidst a violent surge of power, he seems to be tearing through the fabric of space itself. After regaining his footing, he surveys the unfamiliar surroundings with a frown. Frustrated and confused, he mutters to himself, trying to make sense of this strange place. It's then that he finds Mino collapsed on a platform. Her skin has turned a deathly pale, covered in eerie black veins that signal a severe case of spirit contamination. Suddenly, an old man in a bamboo hat appears. He pities Mino's tragic state while turning his piercing green eyes toward our boy, speaking with a hint of mockery. Suspecting the old man is the source of the contamination, our boy strikes instantly. To his surprise, the eccentric elder blocks the lethal thrust with ease. The collision shatters the air, leaving both combatants stunned by each other's strength. Furious, the old man bellows, demanding to know who dares intrude on his realm. The old man's weapon shatters under the strain, much to his despair. Despite his ragged appearance, he is revealed to be the legendary Doctor of Doom, Chonghyo. Jaheir is left baffled by the chaotic scene. Ignoring everyone else, a frustrated Chonghyo points an accusing finger at our boy for ruining his master technique. But before our boy can respond, Chonghyo's eyes lock onto his black sword. Sensing its immense power, he lunges forward and grabs our boy's wrist in a sudden obsession. Facing a dire choice, our boy asks if handing over his sword can truly save her. The old man just scoffs with confidence, snatching the weapon as if to say, "Just watch me." Our boy is a bit taken aback by the old man's sheer confidence. He wonders how someone could trust a stranger so easily, realizing this old-timer must be on a whole different level. The unusual energy from the sword leaves everyone stunned. With a sharp glint in his eyes, the old man lunges forward, ready to show them exactly what a master is capable of. As our boy watches the old man move, it hits him this feels just like his own awakening. He realizes he's finally seeing the world through the old man's eyes. After a violent clash, debris litters the ground. Though he's still talking tough, the old man is clearly spent, collapsing to the floor as his mana completely runs dry. As the structures around him crumble, the old man feels a wave of humiliation for ending up in such a state. But our boy isn't laughing. Instead, his gaze turns even colder. Our boy grips the dark weapon once more. He admits that fancy slashes aren't really his thing, but he's ready to handle business in his own brutal, direct way. Seeing our guy prepare to copy the move, the old man panics and screams for him to stop. It's a technique no ordinary human can survive, but our boy is already committed. Faced with a desperate situation, our boy reaches a breaking point. For the first time in his life, he draws his sword not to destroy, but to save, as golden energy pulses from his resolve. The impact of that strike leaves everyone completely stunned. It's a display of power that defies everything they know, and they can hardly believe their eyes. At that moment, a miracle occurs. Mino, who had been suffering from severe contamination, begins to stabilize, her pained expression finally softening into peace. The group realizes with shock and joy that Mino's undead transformation has completely stopped. Our boy looks on, exhausted but relieved that his efforts actually worked. The doctor is absolutely floored. He realizes that our boy's unique stab carries the exact same essence as his own legendary undead slash technique. The doctor explains that this is the power of an awoken one, someone who refuses the system's rules and carves a path through pure, unyielding willpower. If this power could save Mino, then maybe there's hope for the castle lord as well. This realization sparks a newfound sense of hope among the weary group. However, the moment of peace is cut short as the inner council's men suddenly burst in, turning the quiet atmosphere tense once again. In a tense atmosphere, the Dark Soul unit suddenly appears, confusing the onlookers since the undead had already been dealt with. Our boy watches silently, sensing that something is clearly off. The scene shifts to the fortress tower. Amidst the elegant sound of a stirring teacup, a powerful man in a red cloak appears before our guy, ready to begin a formal meeting. The man introduces himself as Jurgen, the Prime Minister of Gorgon Fortress. He studies our boy with interest, noting that he is just as taciturn as Dr. Changhyo described. After the pleasantries, the Prime Minister gets straight to the point. He suspects our boy might be a messenger of the Nakmyeon clan and is curious about how he obtained those dangerous stones. While these stones boost mana, they also heavily contaminate the soul. Watching the Prime Minister fiddle with the crystals, our guy remains incredibly calm, as if the side effects are of no concern to him. When asked about the original owners, our boy coldly replies, they're dead. He explains that they tried to steal his horn, forcing him to act and wipe out the members of the Nakmyeon clan. Though shocked by the blunt confession, the Prime Minister ultimately accepts our boy's explanation, knowing full well the extent of that clan's greed. This high-stakes game has only just begun. The conversation continues as an unidentified interlocutor questions our boy. With a soft clink from his cup, the man states that he'd like to confirm the facts laid out so far. The man recaps our boy's story, stating he was swept into a situation beyond his control and ended up in chaos by chance. After acquiring the stones of fallen souls, he trails off, leaving the thought hanging. At that moment, an elderly white-haired man bursts out, questioning if the Prime Minister believes our boy. The smiling, brown-haired man addressed as Doctor calmly replies, I do, in fact. The Prime Minister elaborates that to gain someone's trust, one must trust first. He then steers the conversation to a crucial point, asking bluntly, your physical body is currently alive, correct? Our boy recalls the crucial detail. When he destroyed the Nightmare Tower and didn't proceed, he was technically a spirit. So, the Tree of Illusion likely mistook him for a dead soul. His physical body is probably still alive on Earth. But our boy instantly becomes wary, shooting back, how did you know I'm not dead? The Prime Minister, with a knowing look, points out a pattern. No one in chaos describes their death that way. He further speculates that our boy hides his identity out of fear of a threat. When given a vague answer, the man taps his fingers lightly on the table. Next, the Prime Minister drops an unexpected truth as an apology. His men have been watching our boy for the past 4 days. Our boy reveals he's well aware, stating, the guy on the roof was one of them, wasn't he? Faced with this frank admission, the Prime Minister smiles and acknowledges, impressed by his skills. As an unseen authority swipes through a glowing interface, he reveals the gathered intel on our boy. He notes that monitoring him was more challenging than expected, but he still managed to uncover a few crucial things. A glowing dossier materializes, displaying the grim statistics. A danger ranking of SS, an unknown power level, and an estimated damage tally of 380 million horns. This revelation sends shockwaves. The graying official on the right shouts that the target has lost his mind, while a dark-haired figure in the shadows scowls, unable to decide if the man is a hero or a villain. The central orchestrator, however, seems perfectly in control of the conversation's flow. Smiling, the central figure delivers his verdict. The world has all kinds of names for such people: hero, madman. But in his eyes, they all belong to a singular category. Faced with this sudden interrogation, our boy listens in tense silence, a single drop of sweat tracing a line down his temple. The official presses on, stating that such people have one thing in common: they're famous. Yet, the term only prompts a silent, weary thought from Jaewon. Protagonist. As if it were a concept lifted straight from a webcomic. And then comes the pivot. The official leans in, dropping the crucial contradiction. But you're not famous at all. That means someone is actively suppressing information about you. As this chilling analysis hangs in the air, a flashback strikes Jaewon, a memory of running through a hellish storm, pursued by monstrous silhouettes. The official concludes, he is a protagonist who stumbled into chaos by chance, and he's on the run from some very powerful people. From the shadows, Jaewon's sharp gaze meets the official's, realizing just how much information is already out there. The official then makes his offer. The image shifts to a grand view of Gorgon Fortress. He declares he won't ask about Jaewon's origins or demand payment for the fortress damages. In fact, Gorgon Fortress will protect you, even from the 12 masters of the Great Realm. To the question of whether one of those masters is his pursuer, Jaewon offers a silent, ambiguous confirmation. This, the official finds promising. It means the powerful masters are bound by rules. Then, he gets to the point. So what do you want from me in return? The man lays his cards on the table, his gaze unwavering as he states his sole condition. All I ask, Jaewon, is that you do me a favor. He makes his request, a heavy burden dropped with the weight of a flaming brazier striking stone. Please save the castle lord. 2 hours later, deep in the night, we find ourselves at the fortress's training grounds. The graying official, Chonghyo, confronts Jae-won on the winding stone stairs leading to the grounds. He questions the logic of heading to train instead of the VIP suite. Isn't it time we fight, and settle whether you're a real challenger or not? Jae-won turns, his expression sharp in the dim light, offering a non-committal grunt. Chonghyo, however, doesn't press the fight. Instead, he asks a new, probing question. Hey kid, you cleared the expert tower too, didn't you? Our boy races forward, seemingly in a hurry. Suddenly, a gray-haired old man appears, striking a provocative pose. I'll tell you whatever you want to know, he boasts. As long as you can beat me. Though, that's probably impossible. His words brim with confidence. Before the old man could finish speaking, our boy darted out like lightning. In a flash, the ground shattered, and an enemy fell. The battle seemed to end instantly. Our boy calmly looked at the fallen old man. I think the fight is already over, old man. However, the old man wasn't convinced, claiming he hadn't used his finishing move and only held back out of concern for our boy. Then, hands on hips, he proudly declared, "Aha! I'm 1,000 years old." The old man kept rambling, asserting that even if our boy had practiced his stab for 60 years, he couldn't beat someone who'd practiced slashes for 1,000. In his eyes, our boy had barely trained for a decade. Faced with the old man's boasting, our boy said no more, gripping the ground to accelerate his charge. Seeing this, the old man also got serious, swinging his long-handled weapon. Terrifying green energy gathered around him, diving down with a powerful rush. The old man poured all his strength into a dragon-shaped energy attack, vowing to engulf our boy. But our boy stood unfazed in the energy storm, countering with a fierce kick that sent his opponent flying, utterly shattering the old man's pride. Our boy calmly smirked, while the old man was utterly stunned, unable to fathom how our boy could be this strong, even after using what he considered a normal stab. Faced with his opponent's shock, our boy coolly calls his technique a normal stab. It's the ultimate flex, making a world-shattering move sound like a basic warm-up. As the pressure builds, the opponent catches a glimpse of the terrifying Lone King of Chaos. Within the strike, the sheer destructive aura brings back memories of primal fear. A massive beam of energy tears through the scene, leaving the opponent paralyzed. Even if it's just a fraction of the king's true power, it's enough to level everything in sight. Just as our guy prepares to get serious and finish the job, the opponent realizes he's completely outclassed. He immediately throws up his hands and surrenders before things get ugly. The scene shifts to the 5th zone of the Great Realm, known as the Steel Zone. It's a landscape of grinding gears and heavy machinery, dripping with industrial dread. High above the city, a secret report is underway. News that the Master of Darkness is meddling in chaos is spreading, stirring up trouble in a supposedly stable realm. Learning that the Masters have broken their ancient pact, the leader's expression darkens. As his subordinate trembles, it's clear that a massive conspiracy is unfolding. They review the legendary footage of our boy solo clear of the 99th floor. Though the leader is skeptical at first, the raw power on display is impossible to ignore. The truth is staggering. Our boy rejected the tutorial entirely, smashed through the tower ceiling, and escaped into chaos. He is a wild card that the system can no longer control. Outside the 100th floor, a stern white-haired man receives a shocking report. The cultivator from Chaos is dead. His companion can barely believe it, especially since the Master of Darkness confirmed it himself. A brown-haired lady nearby is equally surprised, wondering if people from the 9th zone have ties to Chaos. It turns out, the Master of Darkness has long been interfering with Chaos, even contacting several of its regions. Hearing this, the bandaged man clutches his head, asking what the Master of Darkness is truly planning. The white-haired man, however, makes a firm decision. He'll visit Chaos himself. Despite his subordinate's shock at his decision to intervene in Chaos, he casually states he's just going to keep an eye on things. Yet, for this trip, he specifically requests 10 gold-level elite guards and someone named Hyong to accompany him. Somewhere far away, upon hearing the news, the bandaged man's eyes widen in terror. He screams stop, clearly sensing something ominous about to unfold. Meanwhile, our boy Jae-won stands with his massive blade, commanding a small creature before him. Just get off. The creature pants, bewildered. How the hell did you learn that stab in just 40 years? Our boy calmly replies, because I practiced it about 10 billion times. Everyone present is stunned, incredulously asking if he stabbed 8 times a second, every day, without food or sleep. J1 smirks, I can do 100 stabs per second, not just 8. The bandaged man recalls meeting our boy, sensing something different about him from the start. It wasn't just his vibe or his aura, it was that unique feeling he carried with every move. The fight was decided. After effortlessly dodging the old man's attack, our boy casually reminded him of the oath they had signed before the duel. He produced the written oath, which clearly stated that the loser must grant the winner a wish. Chonghyo, the self-styled Doctor of Doom, lay flat on his back, utterly stunned. Seeing the old man's flustered anger, our boy simply stated that his demand wasn't for servitude or amusement, but for something much simpler. The two walked outside under the night sky as our boy directly asked his question, what exactly is an expert level nightmare tower? Chonghyo explained that while towers are ranked, some dream demons ignore the classifications. Those who create S-class towers even as apprentices and reach mastery are known as experts. He admitted no one knows what experts truly think, as they all seem obsessed with the nature of this world. The only certainty is that anyone who clears an expert-level tower is an awoken one. Chonghyo revealed he himself hails from Expert Melville's 4th tower, the notorious Moby Dick. There, you face a giant white whale from the very first floor, a graveyard for countless warriors. Surviving it felt like a miracle. After his own tale, he turned the question back on our boy. Given his demeanor, Chonghyo reckoned he must also be an awoken one from an expert's tower and asked whose it was. Our boy calmly gave a single name, Malak. The moment it was spoken, Chonghyo's expression froze into disbelief, his voice a disbelieving echo. Chonghyo was stunned, admitting he never expected to meet someone who cleared Malak's tower. He then pressed urgently, Do you know Malak? After a brief pause, our boy delivered an even more shocking reply. Of course he did, because they had once been teammates. A mysterious old man with white hair gazes at the stars and answers a query with a simple yet heavy statement. It's a long story. The elder then suggests a walk. Meanwhile, on the festive night street, a small group gathers elsewhere, their posture hinting at tension and fatigue. They soon arrive at a makeshift outdoor food stall. A woman with long brown hair, looking displeased, hands the old man a plate of skewered meat, sarcastically remarking on his new venture. Meanwhile, our boy, the dark-haired man, thuds 2 pints of beer onto the table, grumbling about having to restart his pub outdoors thanks to someone wrecking the original. The woman catches his drift and shoots back a sarcastic remark about his obsession with money. Our boy narrows his eyes, sweeping a sharp glance over the group, muttering that something seems off. The drinking old man picks up the thread, asking if they're wondering why food even exists in a world where people don't feel hunger. After another gulp, the old man's tone turns distant, reminiscing that Chaos was once a wonderful place, a sweet rest for souls exhausted from the war in the great realm. This tranquility is shattered by a sudden scuffle. A drunkard bumps into someone, sparking a conflict. Our boy observes calmly, calling him a typical drunk guy. But when our boy takes a sip of the beer himself, he's startled to find it tastes like plain water. The old man reveals the truth. That guy isn't drunk. He's just acting as if he were. People in Chaos often involuntarily reenact behaviors from their former lives, the kind where you starve if you don't eat, or get drunk when you drink, the life with a beating heart. The old man clasps his hands, continuing his tale. Even in this paradise, for some reason, people miss the feeling of being truly alive. Then, one day, a group with a radically different idea appeared. They held the impossible dream of recovering their former lives by venturing into the abyss. They became known as the Abyss Expedition. Our boy immediately presses, asking why they chose the abyss of all places. The elder answers slowly, to find the revival fruit. Revival? Our boy's eyes widen in shock. Does that mean the fruit can bring people back from the dead? The old man meets his gaze, confirming his suspicion. Elder Chonghyo explains to our boy that the only way for the dead in this world to return to life is by consuming the fruit of revival, and the Abyss Expedition was formed for this very purpose. He recalls being an awoken one at merely 150 years old, thinking he had nothing to fear. When our boy asks if Malak was also part of the expedition, Elder Chonghyo confirms that Malak not only joined but also led the entire journey, describing him as a truly unusual individual. Just then, a mysterious dream demon appears, standing atop a bamboo pole, observing our boy. He notes that our boy is only partially awakened, with emotions still intact, and has chosen an unusual path toward awakening, predicting a difficult journey. Our boy clenches his fist, clearly upset by the whole idea of cultivation. Our boy, fueled by anger, directly confronts the dream demon, demanding, "Why would a dream demon go to the abyss? You bastards just sit in your room making towers all day." His tone is laden with deep-seated resentment and confusion towards the dream demon race. The dream demon frankly admits he cannot deny the accusation, stating that even an apology on behalf of all dream demons would be futile, and he'll carry this guilt for the rest of his life. Our boy is stunned by this confession, finding it hard to believe a dream demon could regret creating towers. Upon hearing this, our boy wonders if the expedition succeeded in its goal. The dream demon gladly replies that although he was separated from the team along the way, he witnessed Malak reach the top of the tree of illusion, causing the fruit of revival to fall, thus allowing each expedition member to return to chaos. However, just as they were about to return to the entrance of chaos, an unknown group of bastards had already laid an ambush, waiting for them. The image shows a massive abyssal creature bound in chains, surrounded by the lords and heads of the great realms. This is clearly the disastrous abyssal expedition that Changhyo is describing. However, not even the powerful lords of the time were a match for the power of the abyss. They were utterly defeated in the expedition, with many slain on the spot. The powerful enemies rely on the power of the brute, resurrecting themselves again and again over the past 900 years in a place called the Recovery Palace. This means a decent life in this world was predetermined from the start. After recounting this heavy history, the old man Changhyo is completely drunk and has passed out on the table. Mino tells our guy not to bother waking him. Mino mentions that no one has seen the dream demon Malak since the expedition ended, but she recalls Malak's last, cryptic words. "I failed, but at the same time, I succeeded." Just then, Inspector Carlton, who helped them earlier, walks over with a smile. He thanks our guy and promises to keep their identities a secret from the inspector. Yet our guy just stares at him solemnly, not saying a word. This conversation has plunged him into deeper thought. The tense silence is suddenly broken by frantic footsteps. Jaheir, the captain of the Gorgon Fortress Guard, stumbles into view. With a look of sheer panic, he kneels on the ground, pleading for the doctor's help. Something bad has clearly come knocking. Under the night sky of Gorgon Fortress, a terrifying surge of energy erupts. Captain Jaheir and our boy rush toward the castle, the suffocating aura signaling that a major crisis is already unfolding. As dark purple energy swirls around the inner castle, Jaheir reveals the grim truth. The castle lord is turning into an undead. Desperate, he pleads for our boy's help, promising the fortress's protection in return. The lord is a legend and one of the few survivors of the Abyss expedition. Hearing that name, our boy's expression sharpens as he realizes the gravity of the situation. With the doctor dead drunk, Jaheir has no choice but to gamble everything on our boy, begging him to perform the undead slash. It's a tall order, but our boy decides to try and imitate the technique. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the ground as energy blasts through the castle tower. Seeing the destruction, Jaheir panics the lord is losing control, and time has officially run out. Their path is blocked by two other captains, who should be guarding the outer walls. From their sinister grins, it's clear these guys are here on someone else's orders, ready to strike at the worst moment. Declaring their loyalty only to the golden sky, the traitors launch a sudden attack. Before anyone can blink, a figure strikes with blinding speed. It looks like this night is going to be settled with pure strength. Facing the surging enemies, a black-haired figure lunges forward with a powerful shove, and with a deafening boom, a massive shockwave instantly erupts. Elsewhere, a colossal boot forcefully stomps the ground, shattering rocks and sending debris flying, while Captain Jaheir fiercely clashes with a white-helmeted foe, sparks flying from their weapons. Our boy calmly observes the battle, while Captain Jaheir burns with anger, the enemy's mention of the Golden Sky clan infiltrating the fortress leaving him both confused and enraged. Captain Jaheir holds his ground in fierce combat, angrily warning the enemies to think very carefully about who they're truly up against. The arrogant blue-haired opponent mocked our boy's strength, asking, "You can't even throw a decent punch, can you?" Our boy's sharp reply, "You mean this?" And just like that, the action began. With a resounding wham, our boy delivered a thunderous kick, slamming his foe into the ground. Stones flew everywhere as the area trembled. Powerful enemies abound, attacks raining down. Yet our boy's eyes are sharp. He knows that in this chaotic world, taking lives and merely surviving are two completely different matters. Meanwhile, What was once a metal facility, perhaps a beacon of hope for Gorgon Fortress, is mercilessly consumed by flames, while purple energy permeates the arched corridors, shrouding the entire space in an uneasy atmosphere. Our boy and Dr. Chonghyo stand in the broken archway, ominous purple energy crackling around them. Dr. Chonghyo grimly states, "It's only been a day since the castle lord was afflicted by the undead, and he's already." Even as he spoke, a grim vision flashed before them. The castle lord torn apart by purple energy, then chained, his face decaying and inhuman. Our boy frowns, baffled why the castle lord, on the verge of healing, suddenly rampaged again. Dr. Chonghyo, clutching his head in agony, laments that they were just 1 month away from a complete cure. Then, with resolute eyes, Dr. Chonghyo proposes that while the castle lord's undead / is still immature, he has a bold idea. Perhaps the two of them could work together to cure him. An official nearby, listening intently, muses that with the castle lord's willpower, it might just be possible. Meanwhile, Dr. Chonghyo, clenching his jaw, seems to realize something crucial. Some of these people here must know the truth about J1. Elsewhere, the deeply corrupted castle lord furiously leans on a railing, suspecting a traitor within the fortress. When an official warns of the dangers of spirit contamination, he sharply turns, resolutely declaring he will investigate personally. Our boy looks at the castle lord, sighing to himself that this very determined leader, who had gone to inspect the outer castle, was brought back precisely because his spirit was suddenly contaminated. Inside Gorgon Fortress, tensions rise as officials debate the castle lord's strange condition. Some suspect Prime Minister Maihan's involvement, while the gray-haired general realizes they've reached a critical juncture. The castle lord, bound by chains, continues to corrupt. Some suggest waiting for Dr. Chonghyo, but time is running out. Facing his comrades' doubts, the gray-haired general's face tightens. He knows even their combined strength can't match the lord's current power. The gray-haired general resolutely declares they will perform an undead seal, despite it being a last resort and requiring a stone of fallen souls. Someone questions their lack of the stone, pointing suspicion towards the Prime Minister. Deep within the glowing purple tunnels, a group of mysterious figures is preparing a dark ritual. Chonghyo realizes with horror that if they complete the undead seal, the castle lord's entire mana will be drained into that stone. In the world of chaos, where no hereditary system exists, whoever holds the soul stone holds absolute power. The old man suddenly realizes this entire conspiracy was designed to seize control of Gorgon. Connecting the dots of the lord's rampages over the past 6 months, Chonghyo finally sees the truth. Prime Minister Maihan was behind it all. He rushes forward, only to find Maihan in league with the enemy. Looking at these familiar yet treacherous faces, the old man feels a wave of helplessness. Not only have they betrayed his trust, but they're using forbidden powers to push the lord into an abyss. The poor castle lord is bound in heavy chains, his life force being mercilessly siphoned away by 5 eerie, inverted figures. Overwhelmed with guilt, Chonghyo blames his own complacency for failing to protect the city he loves. Just as despair sets in, a deafening explosion shatters the ritual. The entire tower trembles as massive stones come crashing down, as if a raw, unstoppable force is tearing through the space. Amidst the rising dust, Maihan and his cohorts are caught completely off guard. They scramble to avoid falling debris, looking around in terror, never expecting someone to crash their ritual so violently. With a steady step, a familiar figure emerges from the settling dust. That's right, in the nick of time, our boy has finally arrived. At this moment, every eye is fixed on the man who's about to rewrite the ending. In the shattered stone ruins, an intense battle is raging. Facing the chaos, Elder Chonghyo is enraged, sharply questioning the identity of the enemy before him. He quickly saw through the facade, directly calling out Prime Minister Maihan's name. The traitors who conspired with the Prime Minister had already been struck down, their betrayal fully exposed. Faced with such undeniable proof, one of the traitors collapsed, begging for mercy. But before he could utter a word, a massive explosion erupted, as if someone was attempting to silence him. Captain Jahir erupted in fury, condemning such despicable acts. Yet Prime Minister Maihan casually retorted, claiming those traitors merely committed suicide out of guilt. This outright lie made Elder Chonghyo roar nonsense. Captain Jahir sensed something was terribly wrong. He grabbed Maihan by the collar, loudly warning everyone that this was a complete betrayal and attempting to halt the ongoing undead seal ritual. However, Captain Jahir's subordinates, now controlled by Maihan's faction, drew their weapons. They were forced to turn their blades against their once loyal captain, obeying Maihan's will to complete the castle lord's sealing ritual. Just as Jaheir was being ambushed by his own men, a mysterious man with an eye patch suddenly spoke up. He bluntly stated his intention to tear up his agreement with Maihan, as Gorgon Fortress could no longer protect itself, let alone him. Gazing at the arrogant white-haired man, our boy Jaewon's eyes sharpened. He directly exposed the man's identity. "You're the one who killed Janaya with a single stab." "He turned into an undead?" Facing Prime Minister Maihan's terrifying power, after being possessed by catastrophe, everyone finally realizes the gravity of the situation. With a sharp gaze, the gray-haired elder gravely declares, "In that case, we'll have to fight you with everything we've got." The entire battlefield instantly descends into chaos, with a colossal dark creature looming above, spreading an aura of death. Our boy, Jaehwan, charges into the fray like a blue lightning bolt, but the enemies prove far more formidable than imagined. A mysterious strongman in red unleashes a fierce assault, sending a cloaked ally flying with a powerful impact, as intense shockwaves ripple through the battlefield, signaling the brutality of the fight. An ally is severely wounded and set flying, spitting blood, accompanied by a frustrated roar. Our boy, Jaehwan, with intense eyes, rapidly weaves through the battlefield, only to find the enemies seem endless. "They just keep coming," he realizes. The entire battle hangs by a thread, with countless warriors scattering under the shadow of the colossal dark creature. Our boy, Jaehwan, lets out a soft sigh, his eyes deeply assessing the unfolding battle. Even as he unleashes his signature move, the normal stab, the enemy before them remains unimaginably powerful. With a deafening burst of energy, a white-haired strongman closes his eyes in agony, screaming in despair. "I was wrong. We can't stop him." But despair doesn't last long, as the white-haired strongman erupts with incredible fighting spirit. Wielding a luminous sword, he unleashes a powerful diagonal slash from above, tearing through the air, creating a world-shattering force amidst intense shockwaves, launching a fierce counterattack against the enemy. Despite the white-haired strongman's earth-shattering counterattack, it ultimately fails to phase the enemy, leaving him exhausted and kneeling on the ground. The gray-haired elder watches, sweat beading on his brow, and exclaims in shock to our boy Jaehwan, "Geez, I can't believe how powerful he is." Meanwhile, the traitor's side has also descended into madness. Subordinates inquire with Prime Minister Maihan whether to proceed with the plan. The Prime Minister, now possessed by catastrophe, gives the most ruthless order without hesitation. "We must unleash the Black Cloud immediately. Even if it kills everyone in Gorgon, so be it." Upon hearing the name Maihan Keldegran, a white-haired strongman flinches sharply. He realizes that the Prime Minister's betrayal is irreversible, and Gorgon Fortress is facing an unprecedented crisis. Facing those hypocrites who secretly contaminate souls, our boy shows zero mercy. As the so-called elites scream in terror, demanding his death at any cost, the real battle is just heating up. Our guy's black spear surges with terrifying energy, his cold gaze filled with absolute resolve. Since this world has rotted to its core, he feels no guilt about tearing it all down with his own hands. A massive pillar of light pierces the sky, with spiraling energy threatening to reshape the Gorgon Fortress. The sheer scale of this destructive force leaves the entire battlefield in stunned silence. Amidst the chaos, the wavering Prime Minister Maihan is urged to become an unshakable pillar of hope. Yet, in the face of our boy's overwhelming power, such fragile hope seems utterly hollow. As the shockwave settles, the once mighty ruler lies broken among the ruins. He realizes he's up against a monster beyond all logic, and time is fast running out for both the fortress and its lord. Our guy slams down with a heavy strike, his aura dominating the area. Jaheir rushes over, desperately trying to wake the unconscious lord, but there is no response as the shadow of death creeps in. Suddenly, a piercing red system alert rings out. The castle lord's soul contamination has breached the limit. His twitching, stone-like hand signals that a terrifying transformation into the undead is beginning. Panic erupts in the castle, as alarms blare about a critical spirit contamination level. While the system frantically tries to assess the danger, it quickly fails, declaring a giant undead has appeared. Gorgon Fortress is plunged into chaos as alarms blare, signaling the giant undead's arrival. Captain Jaheir frantically orders an evacuation, staring in shock at the collapsing stronghold, unsure how this catastrophe began. As a massive black boot stomps down, orders are barked for Captain Jaheir to evacuate the Prime Minister, and for the kid to stay and help. Meanwhile, the white-haired elder, Chonghyo, slides forward swiftly, ready to confront the sudden crisis. Amidst the unfolding crisis, our boy's mind drifts to past memories. He seems to hear a Minotaur comrade's playful jabs and his mentor's, Changhyo, words, "Your stabs are still too sharp to save people." Even bound by chains, our boy shows no weakness. Gritting his teeth, he unleashes incredible power, swinging his weapon down in a furious arc, a mighty slash instantly tearing through everything. The scene then shifts to a memory of the castle lord, once vibrant and laughing with friends. The gray-haired elder, Changhyo, is heard explaining how to use undead slash by imbuing it with memories, recalling our boy's attempt to copy him to save Mino. Yet, the current state of the castle lord is a stark and heartbreaking contrast. As the castle lord's face twitches and eyes contort, and onlookers, Jahir's pupils shrink, cold sweat running down their face. They finally grasp the horrific sight of the undead transformation, a single thought echoing, "This is no longer our castle lord." The colossal black boot crashes down once more as the undead castle lord presses its assault. Elder Changhyo's face contorts in alarm, shouting, "Something's wrong." The black-haired man beside him, Jahir, also looks on tensely, unsure what has just happened. Bound by chains, the castle lord let out a desperate roar. Our boy immediately realized this was no longer the lord, but a body possessed by something terrifying. The lord's form rapidly disintegrated, revealing a monstrous, fleshy entity. Its grotesque face and menacing aura instantly brought Changhyo to his knees, while our boy cautiously braced himself for battle. The monster opened its gaping maw, and the entire space instantly contorted, transforming into a fleshy cavern as if devoured. The former castle lord was now completely corrupted, a decaying, withered corpse with only a sinister red glow in its eyes. Even more chilling, the city guards, unable to grasp the enemy's true form, were ruthlessly impaled. Then, a massive, horrific foot, with earth-shattering force, stomped down upon innocent lives. In this moment, even the castle lord's once pure soul seemed to be utterly consumed by the abyss, leaving only a fractured consciousness struggling in agony, ultimately dissolving into corruption. The Abyss King, Catastrophe, had fully manifested, brazenly unleashing red energy. It gazed down at the fear-stricken Changhyo, even asking with a hint of amusement, "What a surprise to see a familiar face here. Incomplete awakened one, did you not find what you sought in the abyss 900 years ago?" Confronted by Catastrophe's mockery, Changhyo clutched his head in agony, while simultaneously revealing its true identity, the one who commanded the undead palace at the center of chaos, capable of opening the gateway to the abyss, was none other than the singular king of the abyss, Catastrophe. Even with his insight into Catastrophe's essence, our boy couldn't fully grasp the monster's true form, only that it was far from ordinary. Beside him, Changhyo's body began to buckle under Catastrophe's power, gaunt arms struggling out from tearing skin, looking increasingly tormented. Catastrophe's blood-red hand swished like lightning, once again questioning why Changhyo remained in chaos. It unleashed immense power, blasting both our boy, who had charged in to rescue, and Changhyo away, then arrogantly demanded, "Do you really intend to save this pathetic world?" Confronted by Catastrophe's world-shattering power, even Malak, once the Lord of Nightmares, felt a hint of despair. In his distant memory, Catastrophe had merely waved a hand, utterly erasing the world he had created. Just then, Catastrophe's attention shifted to our boy. With an amused smile, it observed Jae-won, this interesting human, with great curiosity. Meanwhile, the terrified Jahir learned an even more horrifying truth from Changhyo: the castle lord's possession was due to Catastrophe's undead incarnation ability. Even worse, this powerful monster before them was merely one of Catastrophe's clones. Just now, the slash meant to destroy the undead was actually blocked. The old man on the ground panicked, questioning why his undead slash failed. Meanwhile, our boy Jaewon's sharp gaze was fixed on the strange blue energy, his fighting spirit ignited. Because our boy had only one goal in mind: to kill that thing with his own hands. Across from him, the white-haired entity known as Catastrophe let out a chilling laugh, taunting him. "Do you think you can kill me?" Seeing Jae-won charge at Catastrophe, the old man on the ground yelled desperately to stop him, fearing he'd meet the same fate as Malak, the leader of the old deep-sea expedition. Even if it's just a clone, Catastrophe's power is beyond imagination. Despite the enemy's mockery and his allies' fear, our boy remained eerily calm, simply stating he could defeat it. The old man couldn't comprehend how a human could stay so composed facing impossible odds. Catastrophe's laughter cut off abruptly with a sharp snap as the binding chain shattered. It violently broke free, and in that same instant, a dark, column-like impact tore through the battlefield, heading straight for Jae-won. Facing this devastating blow, our boy coolly raised his hand in response. He sneered at the arrogant undead before him, daring it to try. Catastrophe, gripping a massive dark sword, looked down on the foolish awakened one, and the hunt began.